Welcome, bet riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laid Back Bike Report. Well, have we got a show for you guys today? If you know anything about velomobiles, if you're into them, you ride them, or you're just interested in them, this is the show for you. We've got lots of coverage from velomobiles all around the world. Let me tell you what we got coming up today. Hansa won't be with us. Unfortunately, he's kind of busy today. So we're going to go right into the main show with Oleksii Hanshyn, the Ukrainian gentleman we talked to last year with the Mobi Dick, as they call it. And Oleksii's got a fascinating story. We're going to update his personal story and his work, the latest work on the Mobi. And then Josef, who is with us today in person, also put together an interesting segment with the M9 Velomobile. We're going to go then also in Germany with our pal Christian Winkgen, and he's going to talk to us about the A9 and A9.2, the latest version. Then over to Montreal, Canada, where Francois Garneau from Velomtek. We've talked to Francois last year, and he has got that VT-1 Velomobile rolling, and we're going to get catching up. We're going to get a little catch up from him. Thomas Inderka from Germany also is going to give us a nice look at the new Bülk Velomobile. There's a lot of talk about the Bülk out there, and that will be a nice close look at it. And also with the Bülk, we have Cantori and Ben Parke. They are Americans. They're going to talk to us about the very interesting new program called the Ambassador Program, where they're going to bring the Bülk Velomobile into the USA at a discount, and in a way try to expand the number of velomobiles and the interest in velomobiles here in North America. Then our good pal Stephane Boving in the Czech Republic is going to join us and talk about an update from them. The really interesting one they are going to be working on is called the VM45. It's a light electric vehicle. I think you're going to enjoy hearing about that. Mike Lecka of Velotilt fame is going to be with us from North Carolina and talk about the latest on the Velotilt. And my buddy Ymte from Intercity Bikes is also joining us from the Netherlands, talking about their latest called the Tuna Velomobile. And lastly, my buddy Ben Goodall from Australia is going to be with us to talk about the Rotovelo 2, which he introduced last year and now also has gone into production. He'll bring you up to date on that. So just plenty to talk about. Can't wait to get started with this. Before we do, let me introduce you to the crew we have with us today. And first of all, right there in Raymond, Mississippi, my buddy Trey Burgoyne, who has actually got the directing duties today. Larry isn't with us, so thanks for being with us, Trey.
Glad to be here.
And in Dallas, Texas, it is Doug Davis at the shop there. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Gary. Good to be here.
And back in Germany, I mentioned him a little earlier, the noted expert, Josef Janning. Hi, Josef.
Hey, hello from the Rainlands.
Yeah, I guess there's been some rain there lately.
Yeah.
And sliding into third base at the very last minute, we are so glad to have Nina Paley with us today. Hi, Nina.
Howdy, it's fourth base today.
Fourth base, I think they call it home plate. I guess depending on how you look at it.
Fifth
We're
base.
not going to start. Yeah, fifth base. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about the show itself and how you can participate. live chat is the way to do that. If you're watching us live today, either on Facebook or on YouTube, join us on live chat. You can ask your questions, make comments about what you see, or chat amongst yourselves. There's lots of like-minded Velomobile riders and bent riders online with you. So do that, and please let us know where you are watching from. Now, if you want to support the Laid Back Bike Report, if you like this show and what we do, you can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you click that little white eye that's going to pop up there, it'll take you to the Laid Back Bike Report website, where you can learn so much more. See our past shows, what we have done, what's coming up. You can buy a hat like you see up there that Fred's wearing. Lots of stuff you can do. So you can also become a Patreon supporter of the show for as little as $1 a month, like these fine folks that you see right there. So head to the website if you want to do that. We would appreciate it. Now, this show is also supported by some wonderful sponsors. Let me tell you about them right now. First of all, we have TerraCycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent, and Trailside Trikes, a fine recumbent trike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida, and now in Knoxville, Tennessee as well. And TerraTrike Greenspeed, the best in leisure, performance, adventure, touring, electric, and portability. Wherever your adventure leads, TerraTrike will take you there. And Greenspeed, where Ian Sims designs bring performance through science and engineering. And Laid Back Cycles, the top USA dealer for TerraTrike and the premier source for Catrike, Ice, and Greenspeed. We give you the freedom to ride. And Avenue Trikes, with the gearing you need and the comfort you want, it's time to enjoy riding again. They're in stock, ready to ship, and only $19.95. Dealer inquiries are welcome. And Azub. This company is a 3-time winner of the Trike of the Year award and has brought several unique technological solutions to the world of recumbent bikes, including the titanium front suspension on the Tie-Fly Trike. Combined with the tuned rear suspension, it provides its owner with absolute comfort throughout the ride. And Recumbent PDX. With a 150 trike inventory, Recumbent PDX is the West Coast's only Cat Trike megastore. We have over 20 trikes on our showroom floor, just waiting for you to test ride through our beautiful Portland neighborhood. Call or email to schedule your test ride today. And EcoCycles, leaders in electric assist and customer support, with a line of specialized conversion kits to retrofit just about any bent model out there. Check them out at cycles.eco right now. All right, guys, it is time to jump into the meat of it. Thank you all for jumping on the live chat. Velomobile Nord also gave us a $3 super sticker, €3. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And now let's get on with the show. So we're going to open it up with Oleksii from originally the Ukraine, who is now in Ireland. He's going to tell you all about that and the Mobi right now.
So, my wife and I ended in Ireland. It was the only country where we were allowed to go, given our documents. My wife, Olga, is a Russian citizen, so we was not allowed into Ukraine. And the only way to be together was my departure from Ukraine. We meet in Moldova and later fly to Ireland. Shortly after the start of the war, my ex-wife took my children to Poland. Unfortunately, Olga and I could not get to Poland because of our documents. Now I am waiting for my passport to have a possibility to visit my children in Poland. It is a sad story of the separation of the families that war brings with it. But at last we are alive and well. In Ireland, we were temporarily sheltered by a local adventure and bike enthusiast Dwayne Phillips. He also allowed to me use one of his velomobiles, Pima Velo bike from Poland. He also agreed to set up a temporary workshop for me, where I can continue designing bikes and recumbent seats. Our first job in Ireland was to stock turf. We used bicycles to get to work. This is about 14 kilometers from the house. Everyday trips has shown how necessary to have electric assists. Without it, I would be simply too tired for work. Later, I was hired to work for a steel structure manufacturing company. The head of the company gave me permission to use some equipment to make parts for my bikes. I was allowed to come on Saturdays. The distance to new place of work was 18 kilometers, so I cycled 36 kilometers per day. I started developing new seats, and for all trips I used Polish Velomobile. My friend from Germany, Jascha Beutler, became a volunteer and carried humanitarian aid to Ukraine. On one of the trips, he was able to take my molds from Ukraine and take them right here to Ireland. Jason Dubin and his partners paid for their costs, as well as costs of materials for first prototype. At that time, there was a week break at work, and I decided to start building the first prototype Velomobile. Almost all materials for the body fits in these bags. I continued designing the seats in the evenings and also started making parts for a new Velomobile on Saturdays using the equipment at work. I also continued to use the Polish Velomobile for everyday trips. It turned out to be quite roomy, but not very reliable and energy efficient. Olga also used the bikes given by Dwayne for trips to the store and to work. Daily trips provided valuable experience. We ordered aluminum pipes to start making the main internal parts of the Velomobile. Later, we were able to rent a house in another village nearby. Here I had a garage, and I was able to continue working. I made some parts I have never done before and learned how to weld aluminium. Unfortunately, I do not have a mold for the rear wheel arch and roof. Finally, new Velomobile was assembled. In the meantime, winter began, and I saw for sure that it was absolutely necessary to have an opening windshield on a Velomobile, because if the glass gets foggy or icy, you can't see anything through it. And in the Polish Velomobile, it cannot be open. I often use junk to make new prototype parts. But in the end, the Velomobile began to move. I was able to return Dwayne his Polish Velomobile, and now the first prototype of Mobi Dick XL has become my main transport. At the moment, 360 kilometers has been covered. The XL version is too big for me, but even so, the Velomobile shows very good performance. As you can see in this 3D diagram, there is too much room in the cockpit for a person of my height, picture below, and this increases the volume and high weight of the Velomobiles and reduces efficiency. But this Velomobile can fit a person up to 196 centimeters tall and weighs up to 120 kilograms.
All right, folks. So there is Oleksii. That he gave us that wonderful video about the Mobi. Oleksii, thank you so much for that. You are now in Ireland, as you told us. And I was wondering, first of all, if you can tell us about your future personally. Now, you told us the amazing story, the very heartfelt story of your family being in Poland, your wife now, and yourself being in Ireland. And I was wondering, what is your status now in Ireland, and what do you think will happen in the coming months and a couple of years from now?
So thank you very much for inviting me in this interview. So for now in Ireland we have temporary protection. So we cannot stay here forever, and actually I am driven to have my workshop as I have in Ukraine, but here it's almost impossible for me. That's why we are thinking about some other countries, because we cannot stay here and cannot back in Ukraine. I think it's for sure because of hateness for Russians. It's very hard situation. So we will try to find another country where we can stay illegally forever, and buy the house and make new workshop. And as soon as I can start to making Velomobile, I will start.
When do you think you might have the Mobi ready for production?
I think around 1 year, because I cannot make production here in Ireland. So it was very difficult to build this prototype. So if and when I will have my workshop, wherever it will be, I will start making Velomobile, and first one will be very soon.
That sounds wonderful. All right, Oleksii, let's, if we could, take a close look at the Mobi now.
Okay, so it has this handle for lifting. It's very practice. And this Velomobile has very big angle of turning wheels. So it's like this, very big angle. That's why it actually have long wheelbase, but because it has big angle of turning wheels, it has not very big turning radius. I think around 9 meters. As you can see, it has very low front area. That's I made this model specifically to make as low as possible front area and make it more efficient. It has lights. It's normal lights, dump lights like this, and front lights this, and it has if you just switch again, it will blink. It's good for day trips. Just take more attention. Actually, I can make another walk around.
Oleksii, thank you so much for showing us the Mobi, telling your amazing story for our viewers. We wish you all the best and good luck, my friend.
Thank you very much, and goodbye to all. Thank you.
There he was, Oleksii. So nice to have worked with me on sharing this information on the Mobi. So, folks, a couple things I want to say, and then I'm going to open up the panel for their thoughts. Oleksii is known as Velo Dreamer on YouTube, and that's the name of his channel as well, Velo Dreamer. He's also on the live chat now. He checked in. If you haven't looked on YouTube, so if you have further questions for Oleksii and his plans, just address them to him either on the live chat here or in the comments on his YouTube channel. So, all right, great stuff, guys. Let's start. Who has anybody have any comments? Joseph, you have something to say about the Mobi?
Well, first of all, it's an impressive story. It is. It shows how much determination and dedication you need to do something under so difficult circumstances, and it's admirable what he has done. On the other hand, it also shows, that when you're out there on your own, things get very hard. Now, he has an interesting model. I think it's a sort of a combination. It copies the idea of the Milan is to keep the frontal area as small as possible. So you end up with these foot and knee bulges, which I believe he sort of carries to the extreme, and a fairly wide hump behind the head because you want to cover the entire width of the head. So, this has shown to be a rather practical, rather doable way of shrinking the frontal area as much as possible. But then I think the devil is in the details. This basic idea is very good, but then it takes an awful lot of time. It also takes an awful lot of comparison with other velomobile builders to actually then fine-tune your basic design idea to get the best out of it in terms of speed potential, which for daily use actually means less watt for the same speed. And there, I think he will still, if he wants to bring this model to the market, he will still have to do a lot of work actually on getting it refined so that it can compete actually with the Milan or with the Bülk, which is now the main competitor to the Milan.
Good. And anything else, Doug, Nina, you good?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Doug.
the story is compelling. I mean, it's clearly there's a lot of passion there in what have you said, which is wonderful. And to Joseph's point, I was just going to add, even the velomobiles that come out of the box ready to ride, most people spend months optimizing them to get the speeds out of them that we see in the higher ends. So I mean, there's no just because you get one that's that's fairly refined out there and has been on the market for a while, there's still a lot to go to gain the speeds that most people want out of them.
Sure. Okay.
Well,
Anything, Nina? Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm going to Ireland on Thursday. And if this Velomobile is anywhere near Tipperary, I could actually go look at it.
Well, I've heard that it's a very long way to Tipperary, so I'm not sure if it will. I don't know if that goes for no matter where you are, but yeah. I saw that. So you might want to get in touch, Velo Dreamer, Oleksii, if you have a chance, if you know where that is and you want to meet up with Nina, might be worth both of your whiles. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and move on then to our next segment with Josef Janning, who shared a segment with us, some information about the M9. So, Trey, let's have a look.
Hello, greetings from winter Germany in January here in my garage. And I've come here not to start another ride video. There's too much work to do at this point. So all I can do for you now is to give you a quick walk around of a new to me Velomobile, not this one there in the back, but this one right here. I still find the DF is one of the best looking Velomobiles, but I have to admit that the M9 is also attractive to the eye. So before we look at the internal specs, let's take a look around. And this is it from the side. You see here, we will get back to that in a moment. And I think what is very indicative is the shape. You know, this very slim, thin tail, and the fact that the Velomobile remains very wide for a rather long time. Okay, see here? Don't worry about that little black strip there. My transportation setup in the trailer was not quite right, so I lost a little bit of paint there. Okay, so that's the outside. Now let's look at some of the details. First thing here is the air intake. The mast is now a 50 millimeter one, which also makes the air intake larger. And above it, you see the super bright Lupine, I think SLAX. I think one of the best lights on the market. It's like a car, you won't need anything else. Now, contrary to the DF, which has a hatch opening that is bolted on, this just comes off like this. Let's keep it off for a moment. And since this is a model with closed wheel wells, I think this is super smart, that you can access the axle bolt through those magnetic openings, and they sit in place very well. And of course, the same continues over here. The rear derailleur hatch, see there? This is the axis there, rather large, so you can easily access all of the elements of the shifting. Okay, let's put that back on. All right. In the back, you see now air outlet openings. And since there are openings there, it is very easy to mount some accessories. Here, the Garmin Varia radar rear light, which alerts me very well to traffic from the rear. Okay. So much for this. You see the indicators, indicator lights and rear lights here, Kellerman. Interesting, the mirrors are glued here in the cockpit room. Amazing how good you can see with them, which I think has to do with the construction of the aft section of the M9. And of course, this is a neat little feature to house the Garmin. Looking at both the DF and the M9 side by side, you can see that the M9 is quite a different animal. It is substantially wider. It looks much bigger. It has a rather big frontal area and is very wide by the shoulders. If you take a look here and compare that to the more tear-shaped, more evenly shaped body of the DF. See, also the hump is designed in a slightly different way. It is, I think it is bigger, it is wider on the DF than on the M9. And instead of the hook, the tow hook here, there is a hole, like a number of other Velomobiles. I think the Alpha has that, the Milan has that. Okay, so what else is new? I think there's a whole lot, at least a couple of things that are new to me. First one is tank steering. You see the two steering bars here, and I have a special feature. This has also brake lights on the left. Usually tank steering here doesn't have the same kind of brake light options that the tiller steering models offer. I have indicator lights here. I have my headlight switches from a high beam to standard to daylight, daytime riding light. Here on the other side, you'll see the shifters. This is a single chain wheel model, a 60-tooth chainring up front, and an 1152 rotor cassette on the rear. You see that the seat is designed in quite a different way. Let me put the camera in here to show you this. I think you can see that the rear section is much narrower than on a standard model, a tiller steer model. The reason being is, on a tiller steer, you sit with a fairly round back with your arms reaching forward. On a tank steering model, you sit more with your shoulders back, and the arms are to the side. So you don't want to press your shoulders into the seat, particularly not your shoulder bones. So the seat is designed in a more narrow way for purpose here. Also, the seat mount construction is quite different. Let me try to show you this. It looks a bit strange when you first see it. That's it. You see, you need both hands to do this, but then you just take it out, and this is the seat. I have to say, so far, has proven to be very comfortable. And the way to put it back in is you start with the rear, and then it folds into its proper place up here, down here in front. Okay, I got it back in. So now you see that the bridge here is now one integral part which belongs to the basic construction and is connected with the wheel wells. Very different design from previous models. You can see in the middle that you can still mount a tiller steer there. Looking at the front end, the machine room, so to speak, you see here an addition which is the bug box by Sven, Velomobile Nord. He does that, very useful in the summer when the wasps try to enter the Velomobile. Now what you see here is the 50 millimeter mast with the single chain wheel here, 155 cranks, and to the left and right, hope you can see that. You see here luggage boxes, very spacious. You see, put my hand in, very spacious and pretty deep luggage boxes, very comfortable. One of the features of the M9, similar to the still bigger A9, is that it stores an enormous amount of luggage. Now, one of the reasons why I never wanted tank steering is that this real estate here to the left and right of the rider is so precious. But you see, this is so wide here to the right side of the, I'm on the right side of the right steering bar. You see, here's the bag with all of my tools and spares, the standard Velomobile bag that I've used on the Quest and the DF. On the DF, it would not fit here because the DF is so narrow. But here, it fits even to the left of the steering bar. Now, see, because there's a very minimal movement of the steering bar, it's actually, you can put all your stuff there to the left and right, and you see what space is left there. And of course, when you look into the rear section, I mean, it's like a big dark hole. So it's a huge luggage compartment. On the other side, you have a swing arm cover, which came later. The first models didn't have it, but this is, I think, this is number 46, so this has it. But what you don't have is the luggage board that the DF has in this place, so that you can put luggage up there, and you can also fill the hump with luggage because it cannot fall over on that side and interfere with the chain. See here, this is how it looks with the DF. So you see, you can store things here, and they cannot fall onto the chain and the cassette, which is a good thing. So now I got some light so that you can take a look inside the rear section here, and also the rear section. So here's the same with the DF, and I put my luggage bag here. You see that it barely fits in here because it pushes against the seat. There's much less space between the seat and the wall, and much more in the M9. Oh, there's the bag is already there. Okay, well, this is my other Velomobile bag. So usually in the DF that goes behind the seat. So what else is new with the M9? Now, one of the new things, of course, is the hood. This is the DF hood, and you see the DF with the classic cockpit rim here has a hood that is designed to fit right on that rim. The hood has this air sort of cave, or it's, I don't know how would you call that. It sort of forces the air down and up again against the screen from the inside, helps defogging. And I will show you that the M9 hood takes this technique here one step further. Also, I want to show you the two side windows, one with plexiglass, and the other one is an open one for ventilation. Now, the M9 hood, you see here, first of all, you see that the hood needs to have its own pair of mirrors because the mirrors are glued to the inside. You see, the M9 does not have a rim like the DF has, so the hood has no sort of fixed position, but is located in the middle. There's an indicator arrow, so in the inside, so that you can see that you're centered it. Look at this trench here, which is even more shielding the wet air on a rainy day, and also pushing the air down here and up against the windscreen, and it's said to be very effective. I have not tested it yet, have not had the chance to test it yet, but it's said to be very effective in cold weather. And of course, aerodynamics are optimal even with the hood slightly open to allow for air to come in. On the side, both windows are open. So they will not fog up because there's nothing that they could fog up to. But in order to prevent rain from coming in, see this? They are designed in such a way, it's like an eyebrow, that prevents water from coming to the inside, running down from the hood to the inside. There still will be a few drops, but very little. The A9 has the same hood, and riders have told me that it's extremely effective. Now, let's have one more look at the M9 with the lights on. To get to the light switch, I have to turn off the general lights here. And that's it. That should be it. Okay. You see here the Kellerman lights from behind. Pretty good visibility, I'd say. And this is an extremely bright light up front. It's also positioned higher, about 8 to 10 centimeters higher than on the DF, I'd say. See, battery storage is here, and the switches are right above. I'm switching off the light. Now I'm switching off the entire electrical supply of the Velomobile. All right, folks, that's all for today. I hope you found that little walk around interesting. I'd love to give you a riding report with pictures from the road some point later when I can find the time to do it.
Well, I hope you do find the time. Josef, thank you. Such a nice, comprehensive report. Lots of comments. Let me ask a couple of questions or ask, and then you can finish up with anything you might want to add. I don't think that you answered these questions. And John Yang is wondering, how wide is the M9 at the wheel wells and shoulders? And let me also, I'll just put this next one on as well, because they're kind of related. What's the difference in the turning circle between those two Velomobiles? So talk about the width and turning circle, if you would.
Well, the width is, of course, considerably wider. I haven't measured it, but I would guess that the M9 is close to 80 centimeters wide, which is about 10 centimeters more than the DF. Shoulder width is enormous. You know, I use shoulder pads of that size in the DF. I don't use any in the M9. I thought I would kind of double up the shoulder pads because of the space that there is. But, you know, the seating position is very different. Your shoulder bones come out much more. I don't know if shoulder bones is the correct term, you know, but you know what I mean is, and you are held in place quite well compared to sort of the round shoulder position when you sit in a tiller steer like the DF or the Quest, where I felt the need to have, you know, an almost immediate touch to the shoulder pads, so I would feel planted in the Velomobile. I have that same feeling in the wider, considerably wider M9 without any of the shoulder pads. So I have yet to find a situation in my riding where I say, oh, okay, I'm sliding here. I didn't anticipate that to be the case. Turning circle, I have to say, is wider. Now, Daniel, the designer, Daniel Fenn, claims that he can make an M9 with a record turning circle below 10 meters. I don't know. You know, maybe if you Dremel off a bit here and there in the wheel arches, you know, mine is standard as it comes from the factory, and I compare the turning circle not by measuring it, by simply, you know, using it on the same roads and same trails that I've ridden my other Velomobiles thousands of times, and I can say it probably is around a meter more. I would guess it to be around 11, maybe even 11 and a half meters, which I think is about a meter more than the DF XL has.
All right. And Doug, Nina, have any comments or questions? Not well.
I mean, I'm like, I want one, but realistically,
Nina, we've just started now. We've got lots more to show you. So, yeah. Nina is lucky.
You will want many more, Nina, by the end of the show.
Nina not only represents a Velonaut herself, of course, but she's actually talked about buying one. So she might be representative of many of you out there right now. So, yeah, just be patient. Josef, one other question about the hood we had. How is it held on? Here we go. MR wants to know, how is that held on?
Yeah, it's held on in the same way that the DF or the Alpha 7 models are. There's a hook. There are two hooks on each side, and you just put it under the rim. The M9, which is one of the nice features, has sort of a rounded rim. So it goes around like this. You see where the others go down like this, which you feel every time in your shoulders when you're hitting a pothole. But the M9 design rounds the rim. So also the hook has to be designed slightly different so that it can go around and attach behind this rounded rim. Works very well. Also the sort of the non-predefined position. I think it has a natural place where it falls down to, which is just slightly ahead of the Kellerman lights, and then you just center it, and that's it. I have to say, my riding experience is very little with the hood. I have this double glazing on my DF hood. Which I don't on the M9 because people have been telling me, the A9 people have been telling me, you don't need that. So the visor will stay clear as good with a single glazing as it would with a double glazing on the earlier design. The Alpha 7 hood already is a generation ahead of the DF hood. So actually I've been jumping 2 generations and they tell me the difference is that you don't need that pin lock second glazing in there to get the same quality or the same level of fog protection.
All right, let's finish up with a final question on the hood. Can it be stored inside the Velomobile?
No. Well,
Okay,
I haven't tried it. There's storage-wise. What I do when I do longer climbs in granny gear, I lift the hood and put it down in front of me, which with the DF hood was very nice to do because you could sort of press it onto the bonnet and it will stay there. You're not very fast anyway, so you can maybe hold it with one hand and it won't fly away. The different bonnet construction, which is gigantic, for a Velomobile. It reminds me of the Quest. When I first got into the M9, I thought, well, this is a Quest in slightly different terms, not as round, but it has a big flat bonnet in front of you. The hood, won't hold. It will just slide around there. So probably people who think they must put the hood down in front of them for cooling on a steep climb, they will have to work with magnets on the hood and on the shell in order to keep the hood in place.
Very good. All right, let's. Doug, did you have something?
Yeah, on the DF, what we used to do is flip the hood around and use the hook on reverse on the wind side. So
okay,
because we have wind here, so you can't stick it on the bonnet; it'll blow off. But you can hook it, you can flip it around, and then reverse twist the hook and hook it onto the side on the opposite side from the wind, and it'll hang on.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Well, that's interesting. But with Kellerman lights, I think that option is gone. I think if you put it down in reverse on the DF, you will just barely still see the rear lights under it, won't you?
No, because the lip will be, well, at least on the DF it doesn't have Kellerman lights. On the Alpha 7, I'm not sure you can pull that same trick on it, not because of the Kellerman lights, but just because of the angles. I'd have to try it.
Right.
I don't know.
The angles are different.
Yeah, the angles are quite a bit
different. Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's leave that there. We've got more
we're
to
gonna
get
be
to here. That's great.
Bunch of Velomobile nerds. You're gonna let us nerd out a little bit, right?
I will, but we'll have more opportunities.
What's the clearance? I want to know the ground clearance.
Never enough.
Yeah.
It's low. It's lower than the DF. I'm feeling it's approaching the Milan category, but not quite. I haven't measured it again, but from my riding, I can tell you I touch ground more than I would in the DF. So I'd say it's probably like 2-3 centimeters less. Maybe it's only 1.5 centimeters because it's down there. A millimeter counts. So it feels like it's 2 centimeters, but it may be just a half centimeter. But in any case, you need a bit more cautious with your bottom than you would with a DF.
Be more cautious with your bottom is good advice for anyone, I think. All right, let's.
Yes.
let's move along. And staying in the Daniel Fenn category, we've got another Velomobile of Daniel Fenn to talk about. And this is from Christian Winkgen from Germany, who's going to talk about the A9, the A9.2, and actually going to kind of bring it together and show you how that M9 that Josef just talked about fits in to the overall category. So, Trey, if you're ready, let's hear from Christian. We are here with Christian Winkgen in Germany, and how are you doing today, Christian?
I'm fine. Thanks.
It is so nice to have you with us. And Christian is going to tell us the story of the Velomobile called the A9 and where it's been and where it's going. So, Christian, can you tell us a little bit, first of all, about your background with recumbent bikes and Velomobiles?
Yeah, my background is not that long. I've only riding recumbents for a few years now. It started with moving bottom bracket, a Python. I don't know if you know it. The steering is the center steered thing. That's when it started. I rode it for a year, met some people in my area who rode Velomobiles. They looked quite nice and fast, and then I got one, and it's only 3 or 4 years ago. So okay. I'm not that much of a I've got not that much of a history in Velomobiles. My first one was the DF XL, and now I ride the A9.
So once you saw the Velomobile, you literally jumped in with both feet, didn't you? That's great to hear. So, no. All right.
Oh, yes.
Did you get that one? Jumped in with both feet. Yeah. Okay. Let's, Christian, you have put together on your own time. Thank you very much for doing this. A nice little slideshow telling us about the A9. So why don't we go there right now, and you can start telling us about this amazing Velomobile.
Okay. Yeah, try to because I've been there from the first hour when it was designed, and I've got some contact with Daniel Fenn, who was the designer and all started it. Because I came from the DF, it was obvious that the DF XL was even a bit tight for me, and he said he wanted to build something bigger, something for guys like me. And I said, well, that's very interesting. I'd like to have the first, not the very first one. The first one was his prototype. Someone else in my area got it. It's a bit lighter, but it's the very first one Daniel wrote himself. But I've got the first that came from Romania, and that's also a yellow one, like in the picture. So I can tell something about how the A9 developed, how it moved into the M9, and how it's changed into the A9.2. That's the second version of the A9. So let's just start with the A9. Why it was built and why Daniel did it. You want to have something that fits taller riders. Like there were people of 2 meters, don't know what it is in feet and inches, 6 feet or something. Like people who hit their heads on the doors when they go through, like me. They all had issues. It was too tight. The feet would hit somewhere, or the knees, or they had to use short cranks and stuff like that. So we want to have something like a go-to thing. You knew you could put anyone within a certain range. Like you can't put people of very much more than 2 meters in, but just 99% of the people who are tall. Like me. So what he did, he just thought, well, I did a few Velomobiles with open wheel wells. Now I do one with closed wheel wells. Actually, he asked people what they wanted, and he did a poll on the Velomobile forum so people could vote what they wanted, and there was more people wanted closed wheel wells because it was faster, cleaner, and stuff like that. It should be tall, it should be improved in any way, and it should be also something you could use every day, not just for riding, but for racing, but for going to work or just having fun, or even racing. So his approach was, before he just used the old model or something he already made, changed it, cut it, glued something in, or changed the shape, and reworked it into something different. And this time he just took the digital approach. He just found a guy who worked with him for hours and nights, and they designed everything digitally in the computer. You see some pictures how it looked, and he didn't even make a model of it to fit someone in. He just went straight to the milling machine. You see on the right side, on the upper right side, and then he built a mold from it and built his first prototype. You see on the lower left side, and that's the thing he also raced a few times last year. In the Netherlands, there were a few races, and he just made sure that it works, that it was fast enough for his feeling. But as you see, Macy, he doesn't really fit in that good. He made something so his seat is a bit more forward, because it's too big, and that's the first one. And then the master was shipped to Romania, and Jan started to build the mold for production himself. And the first builds of the A9 were built and shipped. And I got the first one and was lucky to be the first one to have the experience of riding it. And just when the thing went to Romania, he started building the next version. That's the M9. I just explain what the difference is, but it's just built the same way the Velomobiles were built before, just by changing things on a existing shape. But he had a very nice model to start with, because it was all symmetrical, it was all tidy and everything, and that's why it was quite easy for him. He can do these things in only a few days or hours. He just made a few cuts, like you see on the upper part. That's the Alpha 9. The red parts were cut out, then put together, tidied up. And that's basically what happened to get from the Alpha 9 to the M9. So the front part, don't know how you call it properly, the bonnet part, the front part is far lower. There's a wedge-shaped part. It's even lower on the front, and to the back it just gets down to 0. So the back is nearly as high as the Alpha 9. The whole manhole is moved a bit to the front, because the people are shorter and the center of gravity should be more forward above the front wheels for stability. So that's 2 centimeters shifted to the front, and there's a 2 centimeter strip on the lower part got lowered. So the A9 looks like a whale, and the M9 looks like a nice thing. But it's the one for the average rider. Anyone like Daniel himself could fit in, who's not taller than 180 or something. So this is the one that actually was the most ordered thing last year, because everyone liked it, and only like when they are from 10 velomobiles of this type, 9 were M9s and 1 was an A9, because only 10% or something of the people were the taller ones who needed a A9. I was the first one of the taller ones to try out the Alpha 9. I had some issues with the A9, and some others had as well. And that was the reason for Daniel to redesign or redo some things of the A9, because it was a bit too short for some riders. The cranks hit the front, and the seat has to be moved all the way back, and there was too much room above the knees, even for longer cranks. So what he did is do a slight modification of the M9, and the reason is that he used the M9 because it was easier for him, because it was already nice, and some aspects he wanted to keep with the Alpha 9, the second version of the Alpha 9. So on this picture you see what he changed on the M9 to extend it, or to shape it into the second version of the Alpha 9. Conclusion: the Alpha 9 is even larger and improved from the A9 and M9. The front is lower. The front lamp is a bit higher. It's going to start. The production is going to start in February. That's when the first versions should hit the dealers. And it replaces the Alpha 9.1, because it doesn't make sense to have both, because this one is the one that should fit for everyone like me. So you see all the details here. Maybe we can pick out one or two, but just when I take a step back and think about the main difference between other types. Like, I'm coming from the DF-XL, that was really tight, and I couldn't move much in that one. And now I've ridden nearly a whole year in the Alpha 9, and it's really comfy. You can turn, you can look around, you can get something that's behind you. I was even able to change my trousers without getting out once when it was cold, and I was on a long trip, and I had a bit of sleep, and I put long trousers on, and then I wanted to continue and had to take them off because of the sweat. And I didn't even have to get out. It may not be possible in the Alpha 9.2 because the knee room is tighter, but I could change in that thing. I could move enough to even open or change my shoes. And that's something that was new for me. There may have been older models like Quest or something that may have felt something like it, but it's just comfy and safe, and you are you're low, you feel like you are contained, you feel safe because that thing around you, that's rounded edges now, and you can cut corners and stuff. It's like it's a whole new riding experience from my point of view, coming from the DF XL.
You do have a very recent update now on the 9.2 that you just talked about from Romania. What do you know that's happening right now?
Okay, I got a message from Jan today. Okay, we are recording this 1.5 weeks before you are seeing this, so that may be outdated now. But today, the first Alpha 9 second version got out of the mold, and Jan sent me the first pictures of it. We can just show
let's
it.
have a
Maybe
look. We'd love to see that.
Maybe it's still not painted yet. It's just out of the mold, just the bare carbon. So some people may like it, but you won't get it this way because you rather get it painted, and it looks much nicer painted. And you also sweat in that black thing when the sun is hitting it. I can tell from someone who had a thing like that. But these are the first pictures of the Alpha 9, the second version. You see it's a bit longer. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, there's even a crash zone in it. I don't know if it's in my specs. I forgot it. The part in front of your face, right in front of the manhole, that's built of glass fiber, because there are two reasons. Because one, the GPS signal gets through easier, so you have better reception of GPS. And the second thing, it's more, it's nicer to hit it if you happen to have a crash and you hit it. Carbon isn't the best thing to hit, so the glass stuff is nicer, and it behaves better when there's in case of a crash. So that's also a feature. I think that's unique currently for these things. There's no other model who has it.
Just to finish up, now you had the opportunity to take your Alpha 9 on a wonderful trip last summer, I believe. So you have some slides. Let's take a look at those and tell us about that.
Yeah, my very first and even longest trip by Velomobile. It was organized by Josef Janning, the one who's also in the show. He does it every couple of years, and but it was a bit delayed by the pandemic. Yeah, and I was lucky to be part of it. It was all planned. And it was 3 lovely weeks through Italy. We started in Germany, going across the Alps, doing a round trip to the Adriatic Sea, then across Italy to the other side, to the Mediterranean Sea. There were many hills to climb, a lot of sun, a lot of sweat. Every night we had a campground where we stayed. We had our whole camping gear with us. Some of us had it in their Velomobiles, and but most had it in a van that followed us in case of emergency and if things break. And yeah, this was the first big trip with this thing I did, and it performed very nicely.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed that and shared those with us. I wonder if are you going to sell the Alpha 9 and get a 9.2?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's thing I was thinking about. I'm someone who likes to modify things and who changes things and fiddle around, not because they are bad, but because I have some ideas and some time to try out things. And I changed so much on the Alpha 9 that it would be a pity to sell it right now, because everyone is like I want it. And maybe I'm going to sell it somewhere in the next years, but right now I'm just waiting. I will try out the Alpha 9, the second version, and see how it feels. And if it feels much better, maybe that could be a reason to actually sell it. But it's hard to sell something you've ridden that far in, and just because there's a new version. I don't know, not yet, but maybe sometime
Very
later.
good. All right. Yeah, I knew that would be a difficult question for you, Christian. So, but I sure appreciate you spending the time to put together this wonderful story of a velomobile that you clearly love and fits you so beautifully. So, Christian, thank you so much for coming on the Laid Back Bike Report and telling us about the A9 and the A9.2.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you too.
All right, that was Christian. He is wonderful and really helped us out. Gave us a nice picture of the latest, most of the latest Daniel Fenn Velomobiles. But as an update, let me just tell you, and then we're going to get our panel's views on some of these things. There was a couple of mentions in the chat about, okay, all these big guys, and these are Velomobiles for bigger guys. What about if you're a little bit smaller? And we've talked about some of the other smaller Velomobiles in the past, including the Snook. But here's something that Ben Parke posted on Facebook Friday. Ben Parke is you're going to see him shortly on the Bülk, but he posted that the W9, the smallest version of the A9 M9 family, was just announced by Daniel Fenn's partner today on the German forum. All the same safety features, he says, and wind stability of the M9 A9 are the same, according to Daniel. And naturally, he says, Daniel claims that it will be the fastest velomobile ever, as Daniel almost always does. So let's start with Joseph. You know a little bit about the W9 or have comments on the A9. Go ahead. Tell us what you know.
Yes, I do. First of all, one comment on the A9. The A9 is really a velomobile for tall people, and I think it was good that Daniel sort of took a second look at it to make it even better, because I think the design could need some refinement. And I think he was positively surprised by the result of his trimming the A9 to the M9. And if you recall that one slide that you had where you had the two models, the A9 and the M9, below each other with the cutout lines, you see that the M9 has a more of a wedge form. The A9 has a huge, big bonnet, so you really need to be tall in order to be able to look above it. And I think when Daniel saw that, the outcome of his reshaping the A9, he thought that's pretty neat. And I think the new A9.2 is not quite as wedgy in that sense as the M9 is, but is getting towards it. Now, the WE9 takes the M9 and unlike the A9.2, which is sort of an enlarged M9, it is a reduced M9. The WM9, Nikki, Daniel's partner, says is for people up to 187. I doubt that. You know, I'm 185, and I think I shouldn't be much taller for the M9 because clearance for the feet is an issue, and I have size 45. And she says 187, shoe size 44 could fit the WA9. I'd say you'd rather be below 180 in order to be comfortable. It is more narrow, same length, but narrower. It's 72 centimeters wide. It has 6 centimeters less track width, which I think is considerable. It is a bit wider at the feet because it has also shown that as spacious as the M9 is, the area around the feet is a rather sensitive place, particularly when you need the space for the luggage compartments at the front. It is overall still 3 centimeters lower than the M9. So, I think the wedge shape will come out even a bit more on the W9 than on the M9. It has 3 centimeters less at the front of the cockpit rim, but the same at the rear. So, it's a little bit here and there, but I think the most remarkable features are 6 centimeters less track width on the same length, and a lowering of the shell of 3 centimeters when you look at the Velomobile overall. I'd say it's going to be the model for the people in the 170s, 175, maybe 165 range. for whom even the M9 would be too large. The Alpha series doesn't have, at least the 9 and the M9 and the W9, they don't have this shape of the bonnet, which gives you extra visibility. So you need to be sitting, and I've discussed that with Daniel. Daniel says there is a defined position. When I arrange the seating position of a rider, I always start with where the head is, because that is the fixed position. I have defined an optimal position where you have view, and at the same time, your entire fit with the rear hump is placed, and everything else follows from that. And that's,
Daniel, let me add
that's
this.
why you need to have a certain size for that.
Velomobile Nord, and again, thank you for the second super chat. We appreciate the super chat, Velomobile Nord. Brings in the question in this category of the snook. So we're talking about smaller people here, and you have some experience with the snook. You haven't seen the W9, Joseph, but do you have some thoughts on how they might compare, what the advantages might be to the snook over the W9 or vice versa?
Well, I haven't seen them next to each other, but I have my doubts that it can compete with the snook in terms of frontal area. The snook is a very small velomobile when you see it next to other models. And that is its main advantage. It's low to the ground, and it is very small. And of course, it has stiff drivetrain like the models that Daniel or other people nowadays produce. But its potential for speed is precisely that. I think Daniel's models, or this series we're talking about now, stands out not because it has the smallest frontal area. It doesn't. It probably has among the largest frontal areas. But it is in my experience, and from my writing with many other people in all sorts of models, I have not been in a velomobile and in velomobile company that is so stable in the wind. It's an amazing form, and Daniel here has done something that I think stands out for that matter. Whether it actually is the fastest, which is something that he normally cares most about, I don't really know. But I think its rideability on real roads with real wind and big trucks, with big wind turbulences with them, are your daily reality. I think that's the most striking feature.
Very important. Okay. Anything else, guys? Yeah. Nina,
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's kept me from really pursuing a snook or any new velomobile is the ground clearance, because where I actually ride, I don't want to just immediately tear up the bottom of my velomobile. And it's frustrating because I could really use a new one because mine is an old boat. But
well, the nice thing, you should see the foot bulges of my DF. They have been beaten so much by all sorts of obstacles. The snook actually has a very intelligent design on that. The entire foot plate comes off. So depending on your size, you can vary the depth of the foot bulge. So if you happen to be fairly small, you hardly need much foot bulges, so you get more clearance. And if you should hit hard somewhere, you won't crack the bulges like I have done many times, but simply the foot plate would sort of pop off, and you could pop it to the inside, and you can pop it on again.
All right, guys. Let's great discussion on that one. We do need to move on here.
I thought I had one to show off, but it's not where I put it. So I was going to pull one of the plates.
Oh, okay.
So, it's not where I put. I'll look for it here in a minute. I was going to go get one and see what it looks like.
It looks like everything is very organized behind you, Doug. I'm surprised you find everything you need. All right. Did you have
Doug, what's your
special lenses?
Guys, let's go ahead.
Your take on
to Nina's point, though, I think the snook and the DF share basically the same ground clearance. And from riding them, that's where I would put them. I mean, I haven't measured them, but just off the cuff, I would say they're virtually the same. But with your shoe size, you would be able to go with a smaller plate, and that would give you more clearance for sure.
Okay. All right. Great discussion, guys. Thanks. Let's move along. We've got more Velomobiles to talk about. We're heading to Montreal now, and this is Francois from Velomtek who's going to tell us about what's happening with the VT-1. We are here with Francois Garneau of Velomtek fame. We talked to Francois last year about the VT-1, his new Velomobile that's coming out of Montreal, Canada. Francois, how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm very fine, Gary. Thanks again for your time this morning on January 21 to make some to get some updates from us. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to do. We had a good look at the VT-1 in last year's show. So, folks, if you want to know about the history of the VT-1, I would like to refer you back to that show. But we're going to talk about what's happened since the changes to the VT-1. So, can you, Francois, tell us a little bit about what's happened since last year to the VT-1?
Okay, so since January, February last year, we had a lot of works to prepare the shop and all the facilities to be able to manufacture the VT-1 with all the quality that should be for this kind of product. And in spring last year, we had to design either the paint booth and the mezzanine to do some electrical activities, also to design and prepare the other workstation for to making the parts and making the sub-assemblies. And then there was a lot of works also for getting the parts, either for custom parts or standard parts like brakes, wheels, and many other parts that are included in the VT-1 to produce the 5 first units. Okay, that was the goal in last year, in spring last year, and and the other goal was to manufacture the VT-1 serial number P0, which is a product that where we were able to test all the process, the materials, the latest design updates, and also to integrate the new employees into this manufacturing process. So the P1 that you can see on the latest video on the YouTube channel, you can see it's a special color requested by this customer. And this VT-1 is fully equipped with wheel covers, the roll-off 14-speed transmission, the 52 volts lithium battery. So it's fully equipped. And I know that this guy in Quebec area is riding his Velomobile. He's already installed tires, winter tires on it to do some tests on the sleepy conditions. Sleepy roads, and until now he's very happy with his product. And after that, we started the manufacturing process for the P2, and we delivered the P2 in it was in December, about the 10th of December last year, and we were able to take nice pictures and make all the road tests before the snow comes in Paley region. And after that, we continue the process to start the P3, which is an orange color one, and this one was delivered this week. So yesterday, we shipped it to the customer, which is in Vancouver, British Columbia. So it was our first big shipment for a Velomobile in Canada. So. And now, so this is, I would say, the main activities that we have done till the last few days.
I guess the next question is, where do we go from here with Velomtek? What are your plans for the rest of the year and maybe the next couple of years? Do you have some ideas about that?
Yes, for sure. Our plan is to continue the production process for the upcoming deliveries. What have changed in our planning for the production is initially we plan to build the first 10 Velomobiles to be sold in Canada for Canadian customers, and for a couple of reasons. In December, we decided that we will go forward to a manufacturing process for USA people. Because there are a lot of interest from customers on the south of the border, and so I get in touch with many of them during the last few weeks, and I would say that the P4 that is already under production right now will probably be sold to a guy in Illinois State probably by the end of February. Probably we plan to increase the production rate from building a Velomobile per each 3 weeks to go down to each 2 weeks, and hopefully by the end of the spring to get a rate of 1 Velomobile per week. That is a big goal for us. So about the market for 2023, it could be a mix of shipping the units to USA customers and also to Canadian customers, maybe this spring or this summer. And by increasing the rate of production in the coming month, maybe we will be able to sell maybe 40 or 50 units by the end of this year. That could be a very interesting goal. So if the people want to see us or have a quick visit, we are not so far from the Canadian or USA border, and it will be a pleasure to present our products to you.
Very good. Complex issues, obviously, that you've had to solve, and you continue to solve on this, Francois. This is amazing. So I guess to finish up, so if they can't visit, if someone actually can't come to Montreal to check out the shop itself, which would be an interesting aspect, how can they find out more, and how can they order if they wish? Is it the website?
The ordering process is made in 2 steps. The first step is to fill out the pre-order form on the website. The next step for us is to provide to the customer detailed manufacturing contracts, and then the customer have to pay a first amount. That could be like 50, not 50, but maybe 25% or 30%. Has a first deposit to start or to officialize the manufacturing process. So that's the way we have done till now, and we will continue to work this way for the next orders.
Very good. Well, Francois, thank you so much for spending a little time with us again this year. It's been a pleasure to see how you've progressed. We wish you all the best with Velomtek and the VT-1. It's going to be fun to watch you guys continue to crank out more Velomobiles for the North American continent. And we will stay in touch, my friend. Thank you again.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Gary, and thanks for all your time and all your high quality production videos.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye. See you then.
Bye now. All right, Francois with the VT-1. One question that popped up, Doug, you've had a number of discussions with Francois. I think you know about this. Let's see. Lost JR wants to know, is there suspension in the VT-1?
Not really, no.
I didn't think that it had that. So
no, it doesn't. I mean,
right.
he's working on something, but it's not what we would consider suspension, like compared to some of the Dutch or your other European Velomobiles today.
All right. You probably are the closest to Francois and have seen and talked the most with him. So what do you think about the VT-1, Doug? I'm kind of interested in your thoughts.
I haven't ridden one yet, so I can't give you a first-hand experience, just conversational on that. So I want to qualify and I can say, I've seen a lot of pictures. I've talked to him. I think it's a really good first-generation design. I think it fits a need that we've seen a lot in the North American market for a electrified, low-powered velomobile, which is really what he's aiming it for. That's easy to get in and out of. We expect, we get a lot of interest in the French designed velomobile that has kind of the pop top, the Mulsanne, yeah, the Mulsanne, from a class of our customers that have trouble getting in and out of these things. The Mulsanne has been in and out of production a couple of times now, but it's also very expensive, has a very long lead time on it. And I think the Velomtek is really going to fit that niche. And I would say we get a number of people asking for that to fill that spot quite a bit. So I think he's got a winner there. How durable it is, how much it runs. When we get some more of these out here, we'll see. And he's obviously learned a lot. And as we see from the European Velomobiles, every version is a little bit better in some ways. So there's lots of consistent improvement in them.
Good. Yeah, Joseph or Nina, any comments or anything? A little bit.
I'd be curious.
Wait and see. I know, but
what Nina says, because to me it looks like a new interpretation of what the Strada or the Mango actually is, and that's something that Nina knows a lot about. What do you think, Nina?
Well, I mean, I've been pretty content with my Mango, which is now probably close to 15 years old. And I'm just less content with it now. I mean,
Wow.
I've loved it so much, but it's really long in the tooth.
Well, you just had it rebuilt, didn't you? Just had a lot of work done on it.
It wasn't really rebuilt. It was fixed up a bit, but it's slower than it was. I don't know. It's slower. It's slower than my open bikes, and I don't remember.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's slower than my tie rush. I go faster on my tie
rush
than I do.
Little things. Yeah, there's so many little things that make an older velomobile slower, like the bearings and also the drivetrain.
That's the first thing I was thinking. Is a lot of stuff in there that will slow it down. Starting with the alignment and working through the bearings and everything else. So let's talk after class and see if we can figure something out.
Or just buy a new velomobile.
I would like to get a new one. I think.
Okay, we got the new Velo itch.
One more remark, Gary. I think Velomtek customers, as much as they may like it, or as much as may need or meet their immediate needs, I think one thing for me would be an absolute killer, and you will only find that out once you ride it regularly. That is suspension. I think anything that goes at speed of 30 and more, and I think even the Velomtek people will ride it at 30 kilometers an hour. On less than perfect conditions, you will want suspension, and on all three wheels.
American roads are not known for being smooth.
A point that Doug and you have made numerous times. I think that's really important. Okay.
And I think that's something that he really needs to consider.
Good point. All right. Let's head back to your neck of the woods, Joseph. We're going to go and hear now from Thomas Inderka in Germany about a really highly talked about velomobile, a new velomobile called the Bülk. And we're going to have a number of discussions about that today, both in its production, the actual velomobile itself, and a new program coming up in our next segment about the Bülk. So Trey, if you're ready to go, let's hear from Thomas. Guys, we are here with Thomas Inderka in Germany, in the town of Cologne. So Thomas has one of the newer velomobiles called the Bülk, and you can see that right behind him there. And Thomas, you're going to tell us all about the Bülk, but first, if you could tell us a little bit about your bike history.
Well, I've been always like repairing bikes since I can remember, and carrying them home from, I don't know, from any garbage place or whatever, and making new ones out of them. But anyway, people might be wondering why they see the Velomobile and there's so many little folding bikes back there. It's because it's all Brompton bikes, and I'm running a small shop with little folding bikes called Brompton Folding Bikes, which are very popular here in Germany now. And and the shop is full of them. There's a designer and an engineer called Juliane Neuss in Germany, and she did the first Brompton recumbent about 20 years ago. And I bought one of her sets and built this thing up, and that was like love at first sight. And then I started to rebuild it and make a new frame and make it like moving button bracket version and whatever. And it's all led to more and more and into the Velomobile thing.
So that's great. Thomas, can you give us a brief history of the Bülk Velomobile? What is its lineage?
Well, the thing is called Bülk because it's the design, the aerodynamic design, which is very special, and is done by Bülk, who did the design for the Milan as well. And the Milan is in the market for more than 15 years now and really successful, and always used to be one of the fastest velomobiles. And now they've thought about doing a new thing, like Jens Buchbech, who was a great guy in North Germany. He's an engineer and he does all the technical stuff. And Bülk, who does the aerodynamics, they got together about, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago and started this Bülk project. And Bülk project is a brand new velomobile. It is derived from the Milan and from all the experiences they have with the Milan, but it's something completely new. Well, Gary just asked me to do a little tour and to give some details of the Bülk and show you some stuff. Let's go and see that now. Hi there, I want to introduce you to the new Bülk Velomobile. It's a Mark 1, it's actually number 33, and it's 3 weeks old, or about 4 weeks old, and has about 1,000 kilometers on the clock. Well, as you can see, it's almost like the Milan, Velomobile Milan SL, but it is a little bit shorter here, a bit steeper here, and a little bit shorter at the rear, and a little bit wider here. It's very low. Aerodynamics are fantastic, and you can ride it even without the cover. That's what I did on my first test ride, and it convinced me totally. It was so smooth and soft and running really, really, really quiet, and even fast, even without this cover here. This is a sort of combi cover. This is like carbon, and that's a foam cover which you can loosen here. It's all attached to Velcro. So that's gone now. Well, anyway, let's start at the front. We've got an SLAF lupine light here. It normally comes with an lupine AX, but I thought I'd rather take the a little bit older AF, which because it doesn't consume that much energy. And there's a sort of new air intake, which is shaped in that way that it really takes the air inside and lets it stream out. It's really, the air really flows really well through the vehicle. And you can also see there's the ground clearance, even with sportive suspension, which I do have here. It's very good, so no worries about speed bumps and things like that. You can easily ride over these things, and it's also very quiet doing this. I was really, really astonished about that. Then you have a service hatch here. You can open it like that, and you can look inside. Inside there's double chainring. I chose the 33 and 65, which has quite a really impressive range of low gear and high gear. You can see the cranks, and you can see that the air intake is going up here and down here again. This construction, which is sort of epsilon construction, actually gives you contributes a lot to the stiffness of this vehicle. So that's really stiff like rock. This is going to be attached with Velcro as well. Yes. I've got 2 mirrors. There's various options for mirrors there. I just chose those with the cones. I thought they looked quite good. And you can also have it with different cover, which comes all over your head. I don't have that because I'm not going for racing, more for touring, although I like to ride fast as well. Here's the inside. You see the tiller steering, like everything here, like horn and mirror, indicators left and right. I got my Wahoo on here, and that's the battery, lupine battery. And here's like the main switch. And there's the air intake where the air comes out. It flows right through and comes out here. You can also use this Velcro thing to close it down if it really gets too cold for you. I like to have it open because I like fresh air. Here are the wheel wells, and there's a speedometer. This is the seat. As you can see, there are various options to put the seat in here. So I've got 6 spots to get that seat in. So various drivers can ride this vehicle, smaller size, really tall size people, and they can also adjust it very easily without moving the crankset or the button bracket further down or further up. So that's pretty easy actually. And so we can get the seat in here. And that's it. Just sits in here. Another thing is that you have, like, under the seat, if you look in here, under the seat, you've got those various patches attaching to here. So you can also adjust the height of the seat very easily using these, and have different riders on this vehicle without changing too much. So it's the variety of this sitting option is really fantastic. Headrest, there's no headrest here. I just chose not to have one, but they deliver different headrests of different sizes, which is carbon fiber. It comes up here and like this and that. As you can see, there's lots of space for luggage as well. Here, yeah, there's space here, space up here, and, well, at the sides, of course. You can put things here at the sides. And in the front, I didn't show you that, I forgot that. There's some spaces here. I've got actually front tires and inner tubes in there, and the other side the same thing, so you can put different things in there as well. Yeah. Let me show you this as well. Here you can see the derailleur, and you have easy access to the derailleur. If there's some problems, I really never had a problem. Well, yeah, I had a problem yesterday. I just put my socks and underwear in there and was putting it all in the middle, and then the chain kept eating my underpants. So I was riding and it got stuck and it couldn't go further. Didn't know what it was. And in the end, I found out the Bülk liked me so much that it started eating my underwear. Anyway, get this thing back on. here you can just raise it for pulling it or whatever. And there are some ventilation holes which makes the air flow through the vehicle much easier as well. So that, I think that's about it about the Bülk on the technical side. Yeah, great vehicle, really.
All right, Thomas, that was a great look at the Bülk. Now, you've had a chance to ride the Bülk a bit now. Tell me, what are your thoughts about the riding of the Bülk?
Well, I was test riding it when the Bülk #1 was there as a test ride vehicle, and I arrived at the place and they still didn't have the cover and no mirrors, and I sat inside, which was like in a bathtub, and I couldn't believe it because I started riding it and it was so smooth and so quiet and still very fast. The thing was really, and the riding position was really, really laid back. Maybe it's like my special position, but I'm really lying in it like in bed almost. I could fall asleep in there, but I'm still riding really fast. It's really unbelievable. That's what really caught me, and that was really convincing. And also, you go over cobblestones and it really flies over them. It's unbelievable. That's what convinced me to get one.
Well, your Bülk is beautiful. I love the look of it. I love the colors. And Thomas, I can't thank you enough for spending a little time with the Laid Back Bike Report and sharing all your knowledge of the Bülk. We will see you around. Thanks.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Gary.
Thomas is awesome. So, you can line up the pros and cons. The Bülk is beautiful. It's fast, handles well. On the con side, of course, it does eat your underwear. So, folks, keep that in mind. Guys, Joseph, let's go ahead and kick it off with you if you want. Let's kind of keep these short. We can come back to the Bülk because we have another segment about the ambassador program. But anything to add to what Thomas said, Joseph?
Well, I've been riding the Bülk, and I was really impressed too. I think it is very well built. It is a design, as Doug said before, from one iteration to the next, you really see a difference. And here's the same designer of the Milan, about 1.5 decades later, goes back to his design and says, if I would have to do that now, how would I do this? And you really feel from the make, from the details, from the layout of the Bülk that this is a refined version of a great idea of another era. And I think that's so impressive about the Bülk. And when you sit in it, it's probably sort of the leanest velomobile in front of you, because that's the special design. The wider parts are way down below, so you sit like in an arrow, and it's very impressive. For me, I have to say the disadvantage was my thighs were rubbing. It is very narrow, and it is closed wheel wells. So actually, there isn't much space between the wheel arches. And for me, that was a bit uncomfortable. Seating position, very reclined, I like that. But what I don't like is when my thighs are rubbing, even if it's sort of a nicely done, very soft and very gentle carbon surface. I don't like that feeling. So that's what did it for me with the Bülk. But otherwise, I was really impressed with it.
Very good. Doug, anything?
I haven't ridden one, so I can't really remark on it. So the only thing I noticed is that we've moved into the Velcro for the tops, and we know we've had trouble with those in the wind conditions around the U.S., both on the existing Alpha 7s and some of the other ones. So the use of Velcro and magnets both have been problematic here.
Good. All right, guys. So we're going to actually continue with the Bülk now as regards its importation into North America. And there's an interesting story to be told here by my buddies Greg Cantori and Ben Parke, who will tell us now about how they learned about the Bülk, what they plan to do, and how the ambassador program will work and how it came about. So, Trey, let's have a listen. We are here with a couple of pals of mine who are responsible for bringing a Velomobile, a new one called the Bülk, into the USA with a very special program. It's Greg Cantori and Ben Parke. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Doing fantastic. Good to see you, Gary.
Let's start with Greg. Greg was actually the gentleman who pioneered this whole program. And Greg, why don't you tell us about the story behind the ambassador program, if you would?
Okay, I'm going to shorten it because it's a long one, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and shorten it. But generally, what happened is that I had this amazing run over the last couple of years of being able to go to Battle Mountain, Nevada, with my Milan SL Mark II from Canada, and was able to, over a period of a week, able to hit an official speed of 58.2 miles an hour, which was way beyond my expectations. My goal had been to do 55 or better. I was 58 years old, so I thought my stretch goal would be, if I can beat my age, that'll be even better. And I did, 58.2. And that included, by the way, a run back to Maryland because there was a hurricane coming up the coast, and we live on a sailboat, as you can see.
Anything to show for that run? What? There's that 55
there it
mile
is.
an hour hat. That's
International
amazing.
Human Powered Vehicle Association 55 mile an hour club. So I just still can't get over it. So the whole thing was that, wow, okay, that's amazing. I'm getting older. I'm not going to be as strong as I was then. And then Bill Thornton comes along in his Milan, and he hits, I think, 60.1 or 60.2 miles an hour at Battle Mountain. I said, game on. So I realized that I'd pretty much pushed my Milan Mark II to the limit. And then I learned about the new Milan Mark VII. And I was looking also, the Bülk hadn't come quite out yet. So I looked at that as maybe the next iteration, stiffer, a lot of small refinements on it, and decided that that's what I wanted to get. And so I went ahead and ordered that through the U.S. dealer here. But delays were commonplace. And eventually I contacted Jan out in Velomobile World directly and said, can I just come out and go ahead and pick it up from you? Because I looked at the shipping. The shipping was going to be around $1,800, I think, at that time. And I realized for $1,800, I could fly out to Frankfurt, drive to Romania, pick up the Velomobile, and then come back through Frankfurt, especially since I learned from Dave Lewis and Marcel Graber, who both did the Trans-America bike race, had flown on Condor and flew their Velomobiles on Condor for about $95. And I said, that's incredible. So that's basically what I did. So here I am. This is another dream trip because I've always dreamed of being able to ride a Velomobile through Europe, and I thought that what an amazing touring machine. And that's what makes these things, just blows my mind. Because I've ridden my Velomobile to work every day for 5 years, my Quest. And I was riding 50 miles a day to work from Pasadena, Maryland, into Baltimore. And I just thought it's such an amazing machine that I could go from commuting one day, racing in the Human Power Speed Champions, doing a sub 3 hour Century, and then maybe I'd ride across Europe with touring equipment inside it, all in the same machine. It just blows my mind that that's even possible. And that's what makes these Velomobiles so miraculous in my mind. And so I contacted Jan, and he was so gracious. He said, you know something, your Velo is done. It's actually been sitting here for about five months, and come and get it. And I said, I'm on my way. So I booked tickets and got a really cheap round trip flight through Condor, and got a rental car and drove out to Romania. I got to visit a cousin of mine in Prague. And this is a picture now of me at the Velomobile World. It's the only one I was allowed to take. Rightfully so. Jan is very careful about making sure that, as he develops new things, he does it through his channel. So, but he allowed me to take this wonderful photo of him and me. And I don't even know what's behind me. I think that's probably a DF behind me on there. And this was surprising, is that there's my rental car, is that a lot of folks don't realize how easy it is to carry the Velomobile on top of the roof. I've traveled literally across the United States to Florida and up to Canada with my Velo on the roof, using just the foam pads and a tie down, just one tie down. I do two just for safety's sake. Thousands of miles that way. And I did the same thing across Europe because I wanted to pack as lightly as possible, because my goal was to actually ride the Velo back to Frankfurt. But because of logistics, it just wasn't going to happen. So I ended up getting the rental car. But I still had my foam pads there. And all you do is put the rear wheel on the hood of the car and roll it right up there and slide the blocks under and throw a strap over it, and you're ready to go. And so I drove I guess it was about 900 miles back to Frankfurt, stopping along the way in every country and doing at least a 60 or 70 mile loop through Austria, through Hungary, the Czech Republic, through Slovakia and Germany. Did I miss any countries? Oh, and don't forget Romania. And while I was in Romania with Jan, we started brainstorming a little bit about, he said something about, why is it that I'm able to sell so many of these in Europe, but I can't seem to sell many at all in the United States? And I said, well, mainly it's usually a marketing thing. It's still very uncommon, and we really don't have at that point an active dealer. And so we both started brainstorming and thought, maybe something along the lines of using volunteers, and I'd be willing to be a volunteer. And maybe using volunteers to promote the idea of your new model, the Bülk. We could come up with this plan. And he said, if we did that, I would go ahead and give a substantial discount for the Bülks, and maybe we could pick 15 to 25 potential velonauts to be Bülk ambassadors. And I said, that's great. And, on my end, what I will do everything I can to get the word out through all our media channels, let people know about the opportunity, and also come up with an agreement that this is what an ambassadorship would look like. And so we came up with that. And so as I got home, we put those plans in place.
So now you got back to the U.S. Now, how did we get to Ben's portion of the story?
we put out basically a request for proposals. So we had an ambassador agreement, but then we also put out an advertisement, so to speak. We put that on Bent Writer, Facebook, and I emailed people personally. I've been so lucky in this whole journey to get to know so many wonderful folks around the country and in Canada. There's a number of us in Canada. And, I was thinking it's going to be hard. I think maybe we get 10, 15. But literally within, I think, 3 weeks, people like Ben responded. And I think we had 35 to almost 40 serious inquiries about, I want to be a Bülk ambassador. This is amazing. It's an amazing machine. And it was so cool. And the hard part was we started to have to say no. And we being by Jan and myself. So I worked as a surrogate salesperson, I guess, or marketing person for him as a volunteer. And because I just want to see more of these machines in our country. And I want to see more people enjoy what they can do. There's just so much to say about it. And so over a period of about 2 months, it just took off. And then someone like Ben shows up who's really, really great with the technology of all of this, is able, I understand, read the German forums. So he understands all the details as the Bülks are hitting the streets out there, and has been a rallying place for us on Bent Writer Online with information and resources. So what's so great about this is organically a whole bunch of us have come together across the country. We even had several Zoom calls together, have come together, met each other in person, at least online, and discuss what this means, how it's going to work, and coming up with the logistics of shipping and configuration.
So Ben, take it from where Greg left off, and tell us how you came into this and how you've shaped this program.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly just an informational source. Like Greg mentioned, I can understand German relatively well, thanks to a few years of high school German. And so I've been trying to kind of collect as much information for people as I can. It's kind of it's a little bit overwhelming to purchase a vehicle like a Velomobile when you've never actually been in one. And so I know for me, I like to learn as much about it as I possibly can to see, is this something that's going to fit well with where I ride? And so I've been just spending a lot of time researching, reading through the German forum, asking a lot of questions. Jan and other riders, I've talked a little bit to some of the German dealers and to Holger Seidel, who did the record ride from south to north in Germany, just to try to see, what is it that's unique about the Bülk, and how will it relate to riding here in the United States? We have some kind of unique riding situations. Our weather can be, up here in the north of Minnesota where I live, we have pretty harsh winters. And so how is the Bülk going to work here, in cold weather if we have to deal with ice and snow? What kind of tire widths are we talking about? Versus, when you get down into the south part of the U.S. where it's really hot, what kind of ventilation options does the Bülk have? And is it something that's going to be really flexible? And in my research, I found that this is a pretty incredible machine.
Ben, I'm wondering if you can tell us what sort of requirements were put on the purchasers of the Bülk in this program. What are they expected to do? They got this nice discount. They're going to get a Bülk on delivery. What do they have to do?
Our main goal is to obviously promote the Bülk and Velomobiles in general. So there's some advertising on the side of it that's very tastefully done. There's a nice QR code that people can scan, and will take them to a website that Jan's been developing with profile information about the riders and about the Bülk itself, and how you can order one, and to contact us about as far as getting a test ride. And then as ambassadors, we kind of take it from there and talk to folks that are interested about it, and offer them the opportunity to sit in one, take it out for a ride, kind of help them through the process of ordering one, and learning about the different features and the different options and what specific things they want to select. We go to some larger gatherings of bicycle riders, and like some large group rides and that type of thing, where we can get some good exposure among the cycling community and introduce them to the concept of velomobiles. And then just to be, that friendly guy out, or girl or whatever, out for a ride, and somebody will come up to you and say, "Hey, what's that?" Get in a conversation, and take the time to really introduce them to the idea of a velomobile.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I thought we might want to finish up here. That's a good point, Ben. So we're all really wanting to promote velomobiles in general, and I think it looks like you guys are taking that view. So if we could finish up, maybe Greg, if you could start out and tell us how you think this hopefully will affect velomobile status in the U.S. In general, and then Ben, I'd like your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think that each of us who have ridden a velomobile has had the police stops, the cameras hanging out of people's cars as they go by, taking pictures of us, people actually waving, trying to stop us to talk more about it. And some of us have even come around with little information cards and so on. I think the QR code and the fact that we have bios on each of us as ambassadors is helpful, so they get to know us as people and so on. But the ultimate goal I want to see on this is a normalize in the United States this new advanced way of cycling. And I think this is really the 2.0 of cycles. For 100 plus years, we've had the standard two wheels, and they're still great. They always will be. But this is a new iteration of a faster, safer velomobile. Ben noted the traffic safety on this, and a lot of us have had really some bad crashes that frankly either would have been lethal on a regular bicycle or much, much worse on a regular bicycle. The Velomobile with the exoskeleton, as I call it, protects us and also shields us from the sun, shields us from the bad weather, and also provides advertising space on there too. So it's got a lot going for it. And so my goal on this is that it's time to shift our transportation modes into more human powered mass transit. And this is an exciting way to do it for folks who otherwise may not want to ride a bicycle, or actually may want to actually look at converting from a car to something else. I mean, again, I was riding 50 miles a day. I did that on a regular bicycle, but as I got older, the Velomobile took me to the next 5 years of doing that in great comfort.
Great. And Ben?
Yeah, for me, the thing that got me into Velomobiles is how cold it can be here in Minnesota winters. And, I like to get my exercise, but it gets old doing it on the bike trainer. And, I thought, a Velomobile would be perfect for doing that. And it is. It totally is great for extending the riding season. And for me, it's become like Greg, more and more, it's becoming more my primary source of transportation. Gas prices are kind of crazy. And yeah, I agree. It's time to move towards a greener form of transportation, and Velomobiles are perfect for that.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen, let's last question. When is the container getting here? When are all these fine ambassadors going to be able to finally slide into their bulk and start pedaling?
Yeah, the last time I talked about Jan, he said that the shipping companies he's working with wouldn't get him a quote quite this far out yet. So he's got to wait until we get a little bit closer, just because shipping rates can vary so much. I've talked with him a little bit too about some air transport options, and we're still working on the details with that.
Yeah, I'm brainstorming quickly here that maybe one of us can fly back to Romania and shepherd a whole bunch of them on Condor Airline. Well, I also want to kind of keep it a little quiet because I don't want them to stop shipping these things and say, hey, wait, we're losing, because the truth is they're probably losing a lot of money shipping this thing for $90 or $95. It's just amazing.
Dude, you're in the wrong place for keeping it quiet, I think. So, gentlemen, thank you so much, both Greg and Ben, for sharing all this wonderful information about the very interesting ambassador program for the Bülk. And we appreciate you spending the time with us, and we look forward to seeing what happens with the Bülk here in the USA. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, that's interesting stuff. I'm going to give you guys a bit of an update on the Bülk and the ambassador program. I saw on Facebook yesterday that Jan from Velomobile World posted that they're going to start the ambassador program in the UK with 12 slots for Bülks. Now, this is as a result of them no longer having a dealer in the UK. Now, that, as many of you know, was John Williams from Velo Ads, good friend of mine. And I had heard that maybe John wasn't doing Velo Ads anymore. And then after I saw Jan's post, I wanted to reach out to make sure that he was okay. I chatted online with John yesterday. He's okay. But he is apparently no longer doing the Velo Ads, and he will not be a retailer of Velomobiles in the UK anymore. So that is confirmed. Now, Jan has started the program there in the UK. I had a question on the chat about only in the US. So as they might have mentioned in the videos there, it's in the US, also separately in Canada, and now in the UK. As far as I know, I think that's the only place the ambassador program is working. So guys, I think Doug, we're going to talk a little bit more about retailer versus these direct to consumer deals at the end of the show here. So I think let's leave that to there. Any quick comments on this before we move on, guys? And we will talk more about that. Okay. Let's move along now to the Czech Republic. We have a great segment here from my good friend Stephane Boving from Katanga, and he's going to talk to us about an update, what's going on at Katanga, and mostly about this new light electric vehicle called the VM45. So Trey, let's have a look. We are here with Stephane from Katanga in Brno, Czech Republic. Stephane, so nice to see you again. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Nice to see you too, Gary, and hello to everybody.
Stephane, let's get an update on what's going on at Katanga. Maybe we can start with the product that everyone knows Katanga for, and that is the WOW Velomobile. So are there any recent updates on the WOW?
Yes, the production of the WOW goes on very well. We have done again some 50 WOWs last year. We are now working at WOW 622, I believe. So the WOW is already a mature product, so there is not much changes on it. But for instance, we developed a long grip shift for the roll-off, and we place it on the left side so that the grip shift, the boden go directly from the left steering handle to the rear wheel, and it facilitates greatly the shifting with the roll-off. Yeah. Then there have been some other minor things like adaptation of the tail tree, so that you can pump it out without having to unscrew the screws that hold the tail to the body. This is something that we will implement now. And then also we offered also coil springs instead of the air hydraulic springs shocks. So the shock with the coil spring is an advantage for people who do long traveling and who want to be sure that if something happens with a shock that they still can drive. So with the coil spring, even if you lose the damping effects, you will still have the coil working. So, and it's financially also a less big investment. So these are new things on the WOW, but as told before, it's a mature product that works very well, and we concentrate on delivering a very well finished product of which customer can enjoy without having problems when he uses it.
Very nice. All right. Well, that is what the WOW is known for, of course, as well. Now, let's start talking about some other changes. There is a bit of expansion that you've been working on at Katanga. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Yes, the space is getting small here because we have a lot. We also started to sell more Pony 4 quads. And we continue to develop new options for this four-wheel bike. And for instance, a trailer we plan to develop this year, and also with another Velomobile of which we will speak later. We see that space is getting small, so we have finished now the building of a new assembly hall. It's not so we will keep both places, and they are located 120 kilometers from each other. So quite a distance, but I also plan to move there. It's outside the city, and it's also my personal choice to leave the city. And I will then every week bike to the place in the city where we still keep the assembly of all four-wheel bikes. The Velomobile production will go to the new place. Research and development will also stay in Brno in the city because we have our engineer here. So that's big news for us, a big change this year.
Very good. Now, you did mention that Velomobile assembly will be going there, and there is something new on the horizon, maybe a little bit closer than the horizon at Katanga with regards to a new Velomobile, a project that you're working on. And the VM45 is what we're talking about, and very exciting stuff. So if you could, Stephane, could you share the information you have on the VM45? What is this all about?
Yeah, so the VM45, it's the working name of a new Velomobile that we have been developing the last 2 years. I call it Velomobile because it is the aerodynamic bicycle with more 3 wheels, or in this case 4 wheels. So it's very similar to the Velomobiles, but legally it's not anymore a bicycle because we intend to homologate it as a light motorized vehicle. So will be more a bio-hybrid vehicle that will almost always also work with e-assist, with an electric motor. Yeah? And the 45 stands for the 45 kilometer per hour, which is allowed for this type of vehicle. Yeah? The last 2 years we have worked very intensively on development of this. So you see some computer design images, but we are today, in fact, already milling the forms and making molds for this. So we use for this a new technology, or let's say we do all the computer design. The forms we design on computer, and then we mill them with a computer steered robot. This is done all externally with our partners, so it's not our robot. And then we have the forms, the molds made with this computer designed and milled models. So all this technology is for us new, that we design a complete velomobile with these techniques. And it's heavy investment, but it looks very nice still now. And we are anxious to see in a couple of weeks, when all the parts are finished, if everything fits together, of course, because this would be a very big disappointment if you see that some mistake was made and that doesn't fit.
Good. Let's, if we can, pause here a second, Stephane, and maybe step back to the design and concept part of the VM45. You've been doing a fair amount of testing in, a lot of thought has gone into this. Let's take a look at a couple of the test beds that you've been using here.
So indeed, before designing the complete bike, we wanted to test out some variations, some setups. So we have made a couple of bikes. Of course, we have tried also to look to what exists and try out some bikes, but we also built some own concepts. This is some suspended, independently suspended bikes where we can put any type of engine in the forks. And on the right rear wheel, we have just simply an engine, motor, electric motor. And at the left wheel, you have the motor plus the chain from the person. In the middle, you see a special vehicle. It is all four-wheel steering, so the four wheels can steer, can turn. And they have hub engines, hub motors in the rear wheels. And you don't see a chain on this bike, so it's a generator, mounted pedal generator, that also controls the power of the engine. This last one, this is built on an Armadillo base, a bike that we also produce for our Swedish partner. Has also hub engines, but in the front wheels. Yeah, and the human power goes to chain and roll off. We kept the bafang there, but we don't use it. To the rear axle, where there's a double freewheel. Yeah, so these are three totally different setups, and we learned a lot from all these setups. Yeah. Finally, the setup that we decide to continue with is some found some inspiration in those, but it's not identical to one of those three prototypes that you saw. So that's a very futuristic setup, the chainless bike. So if you don't have a chain, then everything becomes very simple. And like you see here, you can see that you can also steer with four wheels, because it's very easy with a hub motor, and transfer only by electric wire of the power. This generator works also very fine. You don't have the feeling that there is no chain. And if you, in the start, you saw that also driving backwards is very easy. So this is a very interesting setup. We decided not to continue with this one in the VM45 because it's still a little early to count on this solution. But it's always possible that we come back on this setup later, because the body that we create for the VM45 allows us to use it for variable ways of transmission or motorization.
Let's get back into the transmission here and at how you're actually building the VM45 as you have it now. So let's look at that. Tell us about it.
Yes, so this is the setup that we decided to develop for the first small series, for the first prototypes that we will drive. And it's the Valeo motor. The Valeo is a big automotive company that decides to invest also in lighter vehicles and electric bikes. And this motor is quite unique because it integrates also a gearbox of seven speeds, all in one with the engine, with automatic shifting. It also allows to do regen, backwards, reverse drive. So a lot of interesting things that we need in the VM45. It announces also quite much power, less than what we legally would be allowed to use in the VM45, but enough for what we want to do. And this is a light bio-hybrid vehicle. So we know that with the WOW, it's a very efficient. It doesn't need much energy, and the VM45 will also be very low in energy needs. So the engine of the Valeo should be powerful enough for it. So you see on the red is the tube of the chain. So this is the power coming from the legs to the engine, to the motor. And then the motor is built very close to the rear axle. It's connected to the rear axle, to a differential on the rear axle. That is mounted in the frame. And from this differential, you have two half axles with fixed lengths, which go to the rear wheels. And it's a very compact construction because these half axles also fulfill the role of the upper swing in double wishbone rear suspensions. So we only then accept this half axle. Under it you see the underswing, and this keeps the wheel in the position. We use the coil spring, quite a cheap component, and works fine. And so we end up with I think a very innovative solution, very light, compact. And the whole construction, so motor, rear suspension, rear wheels, is mounted in some steel cage that is attached with some screws to the body. So for assembly, maintenance, you remove the screws and the whole system can glide out the Velomobile. That's the idea behind it.
You know, there's a little echo of the WOW construction in this, isn't there? In terms of being able to access various parts of the vehicle easily, and I'll bet that also goes back to the idea of production. I mean, I know this is something you're keeping in mind all the time, keeping things simple and economical to make this a project that's both profitable and easy to use and maintained by the customer. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. So we are careful because it's an ambitious project. So we don't want to risk. We prefer to stick with technologies that we master, that we use in the WOW or in other four-wheel bikes that we make, like the Pony 4, the Armadillo. So we are quite conservative because we know what we can do well, and this we can use for the VM45. And on the other side, of course, you saw correctly a lot of features that are in the WOW, and that our customers like, we try to have in the VM45, being the accessibility, different parts that you can exchange if you damage something like the nose, and the access is really important. So we want even to do more, if possible, than what we have on the WOW. Yeah, that's correct.
All right, so Stephane, the design configuration for the body, the shell. This is a shot of the WOW being used with a solar option here, and you're designing the VM45 with some thoughts about adding solar to it as well. Am I right about that?
Sure. So this is the winner of the Sun Trip in 2021. So to get out of the WOW, he had quite some issues. So first, his panel was quite high so that he could get out because the opening is to the upwards. And then he had to adapt his system. He lowered his panel, but with some rope, he could pull it up to increase the height of the panel so that he could step out. So, I've also participated with the Sun Trip, or let's say the preparation of the Sun Trip with the Pony 4 with the solar panel, and it has inspired me a lot because these possibilities are really fantastic to combine a solar panel with a bike for traveling. So when designing the VM45, we wanted to be sure that it's always possible for users to mount a solar panel on it and still step in and step out of the Velomobile. So that's why we have created the opening of the door. So you get in from the right side, and it swings on the left side. It will turn around the hinge, and it still allows to have a panel not too high above the Velomobile, and you can step out from to the right side. Yeah? That's
Very
the idea
good.
behind it. Yeah, we don't have the ambition to offer ourselves such a Velomobile VM45 with a solar panel on it. This is more than a project for customers to add on it. And personally, I will do it for mine, but at least we wanted to create a base that is healthy so that this is possible to be done.
Good. All right, you also got a bit of help on the design of the VM45, if I'm not mistaken. University there. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, that was the first time that we worked with the university in Brno. Quite a lot of universities here in Brno, and this is the department of the automotive. These people are usually working on heavy trucks or cars. So also for them, it's quite new to work on these vehicles. They assisted us with some finite element method analysis, other analysis to try to detect before we create the vehicles which parts are too weak. And then we reinforce them or we change the construction slightly. They also advise us with some steering. So it's nice to have this help, this supplementary ideas, inspiration. And for further projects, we will count on them too. Yeah.
Great. All right, now let's finish up with the most recent information about the VM45. You recently visited the company that is putting together the actual shell of the VM45. And so as we come to a conclusion here to see where we're going to be in this process, let's take a look at some shots that you took. Tell us a little bit about what your visit tell us a little bit about how that visit went and what you saw.
Yeah. So here you see a picture of our van. So I personally transport this models because they are made in very light foam, let's say. Yeah. Then I bring them to our partner in Slovakia, who makes all the forms. And here you see the model where he already added some coating, and then he brushes it so that it's really a very shiny and hard surface. And he does this several times till he can make the mold on it. Here you see the mold of the nose. Yeah. So already a lot of parts, the molds are ready. From these parts, he will now produce the product. Yeah. This is the opening of the hatch here. And the central part, the biggest part, there is still not milled. So I hope by the end of this week, I will get this. I will transport it then to our partner in Slovakia who makes the molds. And then we can see if all the parts fit on that. Yeah. So that will be the most critical step, let's say.
Great. All right. So you're getting close here. So, of course, the next question I am going to ask has to do with when do you think this project is going to be ready?
Yeah. So we think that during April we will have all the parts. So the not only the body, but also the mechanical parts, and that we can do the first assembly. Yeah. So there is Spacey, for instance, also end of April. Would really be nice if we could get one ready who rides, and that we see that there's no big mistake, then we could show it. Yeah. Then we will for sure have to solve many smaller things. So for several months we will try to ride with it and solve all these child diseases, I call it. It's the startup mistakes that have to be corrected or adapted. And in parallel, we will start with the homologation process, which we don't want to underestimate. This can be really very complicated because it's a light motorized vehicle. It's not a bicycle anymore. So it's a total different legislation. And it will for sure take at least 1 year before this is homologated to be used at 45 kilometers per hour with electric assist. So it's probable that we will offer before that already a version with 25 kilometer assist. The question is if this is an attractive product, because it will be a little bigger, heavier than the WOW, for instance. So if the engine stops at 25, it might not make a lot of sense, but we will see if there is interest for this. It would be a solution to offer it faster on the market. If we have to do all the homologation, I think it will not be earlier than summer 2024 before it's on the market.
Great. All right. And then lastly, you are kind of looking for a name for this thing. So did you want to put the plea out there to our audience and anyone else who might happen upon this for a name? Do you have some ideas?
Yeah, let's say we are not focusing on finding a main name now, but as we are informing, as we are making an update, I thought it would be nice to indeed mention that we didn't find a name for it yet. So the VM45 is just a working name. So any good idea is welcome. Indeed, send us your proposal if you have something nice.
Very nice. All right. I was thinking of the Wowee, but I don't know if that's going to work. It sounds a little long, but I'm sure someone can come up with a much better idea than that. All right, Stephane, I think we'll probably leave it there. So I want to thank you so much for spending your time, which I know is incredibly valuable and kind of tight right now. So Stephane, thank you so much for doing this update with us on the Laid Back Bike Report.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gary. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and greetings to all your followers.
All right, so there was the VM45. Josef, you want to offer up any thoughts on what you saw there?
I think it's impressive. And I think Stephane is absolutely right. This is an awfully complex and complicated process. I know of another guy here in Germany who tries to reinvent the Sunrider Velomobile as such a light electric vehicle. And whenever I talk to him, he says it's so complicated. It's so technical. There are so many details that you have to watch for, and so many requirements that you don't have on a bicycle that it can drive you crazy. So I wish him luck. I think there is a good market for these light electric vehicles. It actually fulfills the needs, particularly around here, where people commute to work in a very hilly environment. And I've been riding with him in a 45-kilometer Sunrider, and he can I can outrun him depending on the terrain. But he will always come back, and he'd be very fast, particularly when it gets up into the hilly sections. So for a lot of people, that is a very attractive combination.
All right. And Nina, are you looking for something like this?
Nah.
I don't think so. Not exactly what you're after. And Doug, any final thoughts?
The interesting thing about it is that it's likely to be legal as a bicycle in the U.S., given our 3-class system. 750 watts being the maximum on a 3-class state, which is the majority of the states nowadays. So I think that we actually have, all the work he's doing in Europe, which is probably a better market for it, he doesn't need to do here. So I think it actually ends up here with less paperwork to per se. It will be interesting to see how it survives on our roads, though. As we've known with the Velomobiles these days, there's always been issues with infants on the U.S. soil.
Right. All right, guys. We're going to move on to the next segment. We've had quite a few comments earlier today in the chat asking about the Velotilt. And so we did get a hold of Mike Lecka, and he sent us this video.
Okay, this is the original Igus.com unit that Wim had started with in the Velotilts. I still use it. Nowadays, Igus.com from Germany, they sponsor Velotilt. So there's a new unit, just came this morning, and there's another one, but originally they had 4 railroad cars on this railroad track, so I put 6 on it. And so this is a mock-up, and this is a mock-up too. These are ball screw nuts with ball bearings in them, and then Igus has the best because these are just plain lead screws with no ball bearings, and they don't need oil, they don't need anything. A left thread and a right thread, and we're going to show a video, 20-second video animation of this experimental tilt unit. And so that's it for right now on this. And it's going together pretty quick. And the carbon plates instead of aluminum plates. And this railroad track slides just a little bit for the rear suspension. Not much, but doesn't need much. And so now it's carbon instead of aluminum. So that's it. And this won't be used. This will be used, Igus.com. You should look up that website and get a catalog from them. It's a great company. I'm trying a new project on the R&D machine with a fork, and there's all kinds of front-wheel drive units you can put on here. You can have a Gates belt. You can have chain. Sturmey Archer, single speed, 9-speed, 10-speed hub, drum brake. We had a drum brake on this months ago, but I didn't like my axle setup, and it was a monoblade, so it's laying over there. So there's a pinion, 18-speed gearbox. This is a mountain drive, slump drive from Germany. And then over here is the Igus upper unit that goes to the outriggers. And that's a German company too. And there's the same rail I was talking about a while ago over there on the table. But this is the R&D machine. It's just a welded up aluminum frame to do research on. And of course, over here is the Velotilt. And the Velotilt does not have a frame. It's a carbon unibody. You can Google that or Wikipedia, you know, the difference between monocoque and unibody. So I've been riding this weekly. And so there's actuation on the upper. And then the Gates belt is down here. And they sponsor me too with parts. And I like the Gates belt. I have a roll-off in that wheel down there from the Netherlands. And I've been riding this thing for months. I kind of like it. I had to take the canopy off. You could not see out of it. It's illegal. You'd probably get yourself killed. So I'm making a new canopy. And if you look over there, there's the molds for the Velotilt. And then over there is the molds for the 3-wheeler and the 4-wheeler. And there's the 4-wheeler Rotovelo I built right there. So there's that. And but this one has got e-tilt on it. So you can just tilt with your thumb and then go back the other way. So it's really a lot of fun to ride it. Okay, now I built this jig fixture in case any mods have to be done to front forks. And it's great. It's 80-20. It's 135 millimeter or whatever you want. You can make these any way you want. Back here holds the steer tube, steer stem. Then the legs come down. And I also have a cutting jig fixture. If you need to cut one leg or both legs, it's in there in the other room. So you got to have a jig fixture to do welding, or even if you're bonding something, you got to have a jig fixture. These outriggers are carbon fiber, little arrow shaped, and of course these on the mule or the R&D machine are just square carbon. That's experimental, and this is past experimental prototyping. So that's it right now.
Folks, I promise you, there is nobody that knows more about Velomobile technology, cares more about Velomobile technology, and has been working in Velomobile technology than Mike Lecka that you just saw there. He is the hardest working Velomobile guy I know. So there have been questions in the chat earlier about when the Velotilt's going to actually be out there, and I saw that Mike said he hopes to be in production in 6 months. So we'll see about that. But yeah, he is dedicated as they come. So guys, any quick thoughts on the Velotilt? Okay, let's go ahead and jump on then to back to Europe, the Netherlands, and we're going to hear from Ymte from Intercity Bikes on his new Velomobile called the Tuna.
All right, guys, we're here with Ymte from Intercity Bikes in Dronten in the Netherlands. Ymte, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Ymte, we were interested in the latest from Intercity Bikes, and you have a new Velomobile that you are working on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have the Tuna. It's a lot like the DF, but also very different.
Well, good. I think that's a really good place to go. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the differences? How does this Tuna Velomobile differ from the DF?
Oh, the DF has open front wheel boxes and the Tuna has closed ones. But the closing is easily removable, so you have the advantages of both. You have the streamline and the wind stability of the closed wheel boxes, and the easy maintenance with open wheel boxes.
Very nice. And what other differences? In the shape, I think, as well?
Yeah, we redesigned the front suspension legs and the geometry for more stable steering. And we also have smaller front wheels. We have the 16-inch Brompton folding bike wheel size. And it makes it possible to have good cornering possibilities, even with the closed wheel boxes. So it has the same turning circle as the DF with the closed wheel boxes. Yeah, I'm riding a Tuna, and my colleague Peter is riding a Tuna. And, well, we like it a lot. And we also, the Tuna has a different seat mount. It's very easy adjustable now. Just in a minute, you can change the seat position. The headlight is mounted a bit higher, so we have a better view on the road. The nose cover is closed with magnets, so you can open it easy, and you can also store some things in the nose. A lot of small improvements which make the bike a lot nicer to ride and to use.
Very nice. And you mentioned something about wind stability. So this is something I know a lot of Velomobile riders talk about. So when you are riding with a crosswind, sometimes that Velomobile wants to go sliding around. It's difficult to control.
Yep.
What changes did you make to the Tuna to help fight this problem?
The closed wheel box help. Give the better aerodynamics, help with the wind stability. But we also changed the geometry. It changed anyway because of the different wheel size, but we put special attention to it. And it's really wind stable now at high speed. Yep.
Oh, okay. So will the Tuna replace the DF, Ymte, or is this just an addition to the line of Velomobiles?
Oh, the DF still is in production, and we made some changes we made for the Tuna. We also applied to the DF. And it's up to the customers which bike they choose and which we build.
Now, how about availability? Is the Tuna available yet, or when will it be available?
Well, in the background you see 3 Tunas, and it's available from now. We have a delivery time of 8 to 10 weeks.
All right, that sounds great. So if folks are interested in the Tuna, they can contact you at Intercity Bike and order today even.
Yeah, they can.
Ymte, any final thoughts? Anything else you guys are working on you want to share with us at this point?
Oh, we still didn't forget the 4-wheeler, but it will take time. But we thought the ideas of the Tuna with the closed wheel boxes and the smaller wheels are also very suitable for a 4-wheeler. So that's one development. And also we took over the Mango and the Sinner bike distribution. And the Mango we will not make anymore, but for the Hilgo we see possibilities. So we're also working on a new Hilgo. And that's a Velomobile with 3 20-inch wheels. And it's a compact, a bit shorter.
Right, and with the Mango being gone, then there might be some folks looking for that very small form factor for the Velomobile.
Yeah, maneuverable and still aerodynamic. And we're working on an easier drivetrain with an easier rear wheel suspension. And we have a riding prototype, and we first have to test everything. Yeah.
All right, Ymte. Well, thank you very much again for sharing all this great information.
Yes, thank you for your platform. Yep.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it, pal.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so lots of interesting stuff there coming from ICB. Joseph, what do you think about the Tuna?
Well, I have to admit, I was a bit skeptical when I saw the first prototype sitting in Ymte's workshop in Dronten. I have to say, when I see the refined product, it has something to it. You know, it looks much better than the first, still not finished, not refined prototype. I think still you have to get used to how small the wheel arch is, especially when you have a model where the wheel covers have a different color than the body. And you see there's so much space between the bonnet top and where the wheel arch ends. And I've been very skeptical about Brompton wheels. You fall down in every pothole that there is. I have to say the first reports that I get from riders outside of the Netherlands, not associated to Intercity Bike, have been because they have been the first models delivered to dealers. It is not as bad as it sounds, and so maybe will be an advantage in there that those 349 tires, there probably is a larger selection for a longer time than there may be in the 20-inch market. And I think what they did well is the refined, redrawn tail section looks actually pretty good to me. So we'll have to see how it rides, how it performs in comparison to a DF or to an Alpha 7, because these will be the direct competitors.
Okay. And Doug, what do you think of those 16-inch wheels, and what other thoughts?
Man, I don't know. I'm skeptical of that, given the trouble we have in the U.S. with our crater or with our landmine-driven holes we've got. There are some areas that we've had riders drop the 20-inch wheels into, and the bike stops and the rider keeps going, or worse. No. I mean, I tore up my DF by dropping literally tore the strut out of the DF by dropping a 20-inch wheel into a hole. So, I want it to work. Certainly the tire selection is good, as Joseph said, because the Brompton uses the same size, among others. But it's just one of those things until we see them in the wild in places outside of the Netherlands, we really won't know.
Okay. And Nina, any interest there?
Yeah, actually, I am intrigued by this. It looks practical. It looks like it's designed for practicality, which is the main thing I need in a velomobile. I ride Brompton, or used to, and the smaller wheels aren't that terrible, and I'm intrigued by what you can achieve with the smaller front wheel. So I'm intrigued by this one.
All right. Well, this is a different velomobile, and we are going to our last segment now and going to talk about a velomobile that's very different. It is the newer version of the Rotovelo, made down in Australia by Trisled, and my good buddy Ben Goodall helped me out by giving us an update on the latest with the Rotovelo 2. Trey? All right, guys, we are here with our good pal Ben Goodall down in Australia at Trisled. Ben, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you. All right, well, we're going to talk mostly today about the Rotovelo 2. We chatted about it last year in our last update, but there's been some developments since. But if you could bring our viewers up to date briefly, could you describe the differences in the Rotovelo 2 over the Rotovelo, the original?
Yeah, sure. Just response to rider feedback over the last 10 years from the first one. Primarily, there is more cockpit room, so it's a little bit more room for your shoulders for some of the taller riders, and sit your head down in the canopy a little bit more. We've gone to a centre steering, which so like a centre tiller steering, except it has a U handlebar and full-size brake levers and full-size grips. Again, in response to user feedback about all Velomobiles, not just ours, that they wanted positive control of the vehicle and good size control levers and things to feel like they're in control of it. So we've gone to a centre steering, and we've changed our front end geometry and track width a little to get the wheels more into the wheel arches to improve spray from water and so on. And the obvious one is adding suspension. So we've got lots of air suspension in the back, around sort of, I think it's about 80 mil, I think we settled on, and around 30 mil of elastomer suspension in the front. So a lot.
Yeah, that's a huge difference from the original, and it's been a long time coming. I know the original Rotovelo have been loved and been around for a very long time, so I think this is going to be welcome. Now, let's jump then into talking about the production and delivery, since you've had a time to start building them and selling them. I just saw something recently on Facebook about you selling the second Rotovelo 2, and I know that Rotovelo 1 that sits behind you looks a little beat up. There's a story here about all this. Ben, tell us about this latest sale, the Rotovelo 2, and what it has to do with that behind you.
Sure. This one behind us, I think, is just a great example of making the point about Rotovelo, and that is that it's an ultra durable and usable Velomobile. And it's a vehicle for adventure. It's not a showpiece. It's arguably not as pretty as other Velomobiles, but it's all function. It's all business. Is how we feel about Rotovelo. And so this one here actually did belong to Mark Doble or Rotovelo across Australia. If you follow him on socials, he estimates that this has done 70,000 kilometres of his own miles, and he's the third owner of this vehicle. So we think it may well be approaching 100,000 Ks. And it's still in quite usable order. It's due for retirement, but it's still in quite usable order. But as part of the transition to the 2, Mark has ordered and received the second of the production of the Rotovelo 2, and he's got just as many big adventures for the next one as he has this one. The more you look at this, it's like a showpiece. You know, it's had direct hits with wild animals, close calls with cars. It's been across the Nullarbor, Australia, or Southern Hemisphere's longest, straightest road. And it's been on some of the roughest roads in Australia. And so we'll challenge any other Velomobile builder to take their vehicles where this one's been and for it to finish up in such great shape. And we feel that that's what is unique about Rotovelo, and we're obviously trying to continue that development and that journey with the vehicle.
Yeah, clearly one Velomobile that's known for its near indestructibility.
It's made of polyethylene or low-density polyethylene, and it's the same material that we used in like whitewater kayaks, and it's used quite popular here in Australia to make water tanks out of, because we store a lot of water here. So the process is quite available here, which is the original journey of Rotovelo. One other nice thing about polyethylene is its low carbon footprint and its recyclability. We estimate probably about 85-90% of the vehicle behind me could be actually recycled with current technology, which is another unique thing we think about this vehicle versus other methods of building a Velomobile.
Super. All right. And then in terms of its production and sales, how are you doing now on that? If one wants to order a Rotovelo 2 today, what's the process and how long does it take?
Pretty much you put your deposit down and wait. But in all seriousness, we are delivering the first of the 5. We're finishing up our first 5 this week, actually. So we've got 2 out in the wild, one with about 1,000 kilometres on it coming in for its inspection, actually, in the next week or 2. And that's just a look over to make sure everything is as it should be. Obviously, Mark getting the second one is going to be big miles quickly too, so that's going to be great for us to sort of keep an eye on his. Winding up these 5, we're then moving into, I think, a batch of 10 or 15, which are our awesome forward order customers who have put their $450 down and agreed to wait and hope. So we want to reward those guys first and make sure that they get their vehicles. Once we're in the batch of those over the next sort of couple of months, we're hoping by about mid-year to actually have a portal on the website to place an order for a Rotovelo 2. But at this stage, you can still join the forward order program if you want to. So, yeah.
Very good. All right, and let's finish up with any other updates you may have from TriSled. What else is going on that we might need to know about? Any hints about future plans or what's going on at TriSled these days?
We're now the Australian distributor, obviously, for Greenspeed and TerraTrike, so we've been super busy there. And I've really been enjoying having all 3 brands in the shop. The diversity means that we can help a lot of people here and also serve our dealers well. So that's keeping us super busy. But also, excitingly, the him-powered vehicle racing team, racing season and teams are starting to get wound up, excited now, I would say. We're probably going to have a real season of him-powered vehicle racing here in Australia, finally, again this year. 3 of the racing organisations have posted calendars of events they're planning to run. So we're stocking up on tyres and windscreens and getting the order book ready. We're expecting this year to be the year where HPV racing is back. So this is going to be a massive year for TriSled, and we're sort of battening down the hatches here. We think we're going to be super busy. So yeah.
Sounds terrific, Ben. So Pedal Pre back in action, full bore again, as well as other HPV racing as well. Well, that's great. Ben, thank you so much for spending a little time with the Laid Back Bike Report, as you always are generously giving of your time. So we will see you again soon, and good luck to you, pal.
Always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for having us again.
All right, Ben Goodall, Down Under, telling us about the Rotovelo too. So that is going to conclude the segments we have on the show today. I'm not going to say it's been a long Laid Back Bike Report, but my grandchildren were young and in diapers when I started, and I will be attending their graduation right after the show. So let's finish up with some last thoughts from our panel, and we're going to sum up a little bit.
It was
a
3-hour tour.
3-hour century.
This is a 3-hour century, but I have not hit the end broadcast button yet, Nina Paley. So let's start out with Doug. One of the things we kind of left untouched was the subject of the Velomobile sales through a retail shop, such as you have, Doug, and the problems that you deal with on a daily basis with selling Velomobiles from overseas and shipping and such. We talked about the ambassador program, which is a more direct to customer type of thing. I really want to hear, and I guess my audience probably does too, your thoughts on the whole ambassador program and what you do and how does it work together, or does it?
Well, when we started this store, and believe it or not, it's now been 5 years since we started this, our whole idea was to get on the street. And at the time, there were really 7 models of Velomobiles, and about a $70,000 investment in bikes to have one that everybody could ride, and people could come to the store and do it. And of course, we took heat by not having our store near somebody who wanted to ride, but we put it as close to the central U.S. as we could. So, fast forward 5 years, we've gone through a pandemic, and things have been different, and we've learned a whole lot of lessons. And one of those is that this retail idea of Velomobiles is incredibly difficult. And we're not the only one. There's been another Velomobile company in the U.S. or in North America that has been and gone. And we're not gone, but we are changing the business. The ambassador program is unique. It'll be interesting to see how it works out. Having a heavily discounted series of bikes and bringing those in may be something that can help move Velomobiles down the road a little bit, no pun intended. It wasn't something that we got involved in before because it's very hard to run a business on volunteers. So you got a lot of people volunteering to do a lot of the work that we were doing. And now they're not getting paid for what we were getting paid for. So you can't really compete against that. So God bless them. We hope they can do it. We'll continue to stock parts, and we'll continue to stock, things that'll be needed, and carry on. But we're probably we're going to back out of the sale because not only do we not compete against consumers, but we don't compete against factories that are more interested in direct sales now. Part of that, though, is not necessarily greed, but it is in the shipping business. And this is one of the lessons we've learned. And it's important that anybody who's going to bring a Velomobile understand this. Shipping is a push process, not a pull process. And while in the U.S. we've all gotten used to like Amazon Prime and other systems where you just point and click, in the wide world of shipping, it doesn't work that way. In fact, even if you're dealing with like UPS or DHL or FedEx or somebody, these big names, you're not really dealing with the overseas version of them. You're dealing with the locals who then contract with the overseas because, again, this is a big push process. So we've used all 3 of those guys. We've used our own shipping mechanisms. We've brought in containers of Velomobiles. We've done all this stuff in all sorts of different ways, and none of it has really worked very well. All of it has had problems. Part of that is just the shipping system, and part of that was our ignorance going in. And some of that you still learn new things. But what we learned that's important that you know is that not all shipping is alike. And one of the things we have found through quite a bit of financial burden, is that the shipping terms, what they call Incoterms, is different. So if I go and I contract with somebody to ship me a Velomobile and they say, it's $1,500, great. That doesn't cover anything other than maybe one segment of the shipping. So you have to be very careful when you start piecing this stuff together and make sure that the person shipping it ships it under the right terms and under the right contracts. And a lot of the delays that people complain about us on our shipping is because we've learned not to negotiate anymore, because when a bike comes and it's broken, or a bike gets lost, or any of these other things that happen occasionally, and it's rare, so it's an edge case. It's not the majority case. Our statistics say it's about 1 in 10 where something happens. Those terms that your Velomobile was shipped under, or in fact about anything shipped under this in these ways, become the primary driving force on how you resolve that issue. And so, for example, we had a Quattrovelo that had a forklift driven through it by somebody the other day. And so literally you've got a Quattrovelo stripped all the way down one side. It's sitting in there. The insurance was bought for the bike, but now we're having to fight between the bike carrier and the insurance company of how to get the money back. And so that, and the shipping terms were correct. So all of this is going to work. But 2 years ago, we had almost the exact same thing happen, and we ended up having to basically pay for everything because we didn't know enough to buy the right kind of insurance. We didn't know enough to have the right contract. So those kind of things you learn. When you're carrying one of these in by yourself, in other words, it's shipped from point A to you, then it's a personal transaction, and it's it's got a bunch of rules that are what we've talked about on the show, in fact, called de minimis importing. And so you've got a lot of things that are kind of stacked up, so it's no big deal, and you can work through the customs and stuff like that yourself. When you bring them over a bunch of time, all those rules don't apply. In fact, what's worse is that when you become this importer, an importer record, you're actually on the hook for a bunch of insurance and other things that you got to pay for, which we were paying for as part of our dealership and stuff. And when the prices have changed through the pandemic and the shipping has gone up, that got squeezed, and so our margins got dropped even further. In fact, our cost, let me give you an idea on this. When we first started this business, insurance for one of these bikes, MPLI type insurance, manufacturer's liability insurance, was costing us about $100 a bike, so no big deal. It's now $450 a bike. That's a lot. And so when all those things play into how much margin you can pull through one of these bikes, plus, you're in a business, you're trying to make money, I got payroll, that squeezes everything. And then when it's easy, when there's 7 models, it's one thing to have them on the floor. When there's 20, which is where we are today, there's 20 different models of Velomobiles you can buy today. It's actually, go through the various ones. That's a lot of inventory hanging around to be test ridden. So things have just kind of changed economically. The business has changed. The bicycle industry has changed. A lot of those have changed that says, maybe we will kind of back up and redo how we're thinking. So,
So Doug, let me.
So this I
want to see. I want you to say where you are so people understand.
So where we're at, we're still here. We're still supporting Velomobiles, but the majority of the Velomobiles can be bought consumer direct now, or through this ambassador program, which again, Greg and Ben are kind of leading the charge on. And I don't have any details on it. And people call me all the time and say, how do you do this? How are we going to do this? I don't know. They've not talked to me. So I don't know how they're going to support these things once they get on the ground. If it's going to be a volunteer supporting organization, great. By all means to it. That's the kind of thing that can help growth. We don't know whether that helps growth in the end or not. Clearly, because the number of Velomobiles I'm selling today is the same number I was selling 5 years ago, this market hasn't changed. When we started this business, we were selling about 2 a month, 1.5 to 2 a month, and we're still selling 1.5 to 2 a month. Nothing has changed. So having the store, having the place to go, hasn't made a dent in the market. Now, grant you, there's 3 years of pandemic in the middle of the 5 years. Right. So who knows what would have happened if things had been different. So that said, with a couple of exceptions, one I can talk about and a couple I can't, because we're going to announce them here soon. The Katanga products we're still selling, and we still sell more of those than all the other models combined, and we still have better luck with them than all the other models combined. So we've elected to stay on just one that we can focus on. But as far as parts, service, insurance claims, all the other kind of stuff, we're going to still keep doing what we've been doing and handling those for all the other models. So we're still doing that. I'm still riding. I'm still racing out there. The shop's still around. I've got another year on my lease. We'll figure out what we're going to do at the other end of that. We still sell more bikes and e-bikes and trikes and things like that and velomobiles any day of the week. So a lot of it's still going on. And our staff's a little bit more knowledgeable on things. We know a little bit more about the processes, and we're around to help if people need the help.
Very good.
That's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. And it's important, I think, to get that part out. And Alv, I put this up a second ago, but Alv Henriksson, our friend in Finland, Sweden. Sorry, Alv, I forgot. But in Scandinavia. Yeah,
the other part of Scandinavia.
And he of course sells velomobiles there in his shop, among other things, and kind of echoes some of the things that Doug says. So thanks. And always thanks for watching, Alva. But
Alva's great.
Okay. And now, Joseph, I wanted to finish up with your thoughts on maybe what we have overlooked, if there's anything you know about that's out there that's new, and touch on a couple of the velomobiles that are very popular that we didn't talk about today, because maybe there's nothing new. What are your final thoughts?
Well, there's still a couple of interesting models out there that we haven't discussed this time because there isn't anything particularly new, like the Quattro Velo, as it is called now. The Quest still somehow is there, and I think it is a very important velomobile on the used market. And still, I think it's the best entry for any newbie is get a used Quest. It's a reliable, it's a good model, and it is affordable, and you can always pass it on to somebody else without losing much money. So then you still have velomobiles like the Lecka somewhere in the outer ring of the velomobile world available, or Leiba, the German manufacturer. Not selling very many, but they they still exist and they are still there. Even though the hype is all about the new models that we discovered and discussed tonight. Where I see it is, interestingly, here in the epicenter of the velomobile world, which is Germany, the Netherlands, and surrounding countries, France, increasingly, Great Britain coming up, and so on. We see a tendency away from the superstores. We only have one real superstore in Europe, that is JV Cycles on the west coast of France. But we see a trend towards a multitude of small dealers, mostly velomobile enthusiasts, not ambassadors, because they do this as a business on the side, and they are really good at it. Like Velomobile Nord, Sven is absolutely a master example of how it should be, because still, we have a centralization of production in Romania these days, where most of the velomobiles, with few exceptions like Leiba or Katanga, come from. But this network of small dealers, they will have to work on every single model that comes out in order to keep the customer satisfied. Because people who pay in excess of 10K for a velomobile, they don't want to start tinkering on their machine unless they are like Christian, who love to do that, the next week. They want to be like me. They want to ride and then do some maintenance, but not before they can really enjoy the ride, turn all sorts of screws. And that's what these dealers now have to do. And Alva has made that point. If you don't have that, and that's a great risk with the ambassador program, it can really backfire on you. Because then you're out there and all you got to deal with your velomobile problems is a video on YouTube. And that probably is not enough.
Very good point.
It's more important than this is there's still a distance that's not understood in Europe problem that we run into all the time, because we're in Texas. And if you take the map, what is it, the size of things thing, and lay Texas on top of Europe, it's almost the same size. I mean, and so there's this distance that you run into even then. So while we have a dealer in the U.S., we don't sell a lot of it in Texas. We sell them in Chicago, and we sell them all over the country, right? You have to call somebody, talk to us, figure it out that way. We spend, I don't know, dozens of hours every week talking to somebody about their machine and their problem. And that, becomes a supporting infrastructure that you need to keep these things on the road, because even though we want them to do exactly what Josef says and get on them and ride, they're a bicycle. They're a mechanical device that you need to maintain. You need to do things with them. They break down. So, this is with any mechanical device. It doesn't have to be a velomobile. You have to have this support and other structure. And as we all, everybody makes fun of this. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to set up brakes on a bicycle, and very few people that can watch them and know how to do it. Velomobiles are no different.
Right. All right.
What we need
Nina, go ahead.
In this country, mobile velomobile mechanics. Seriously, that profession would be so
the
great.
Bicycle repairman. That's right.
Well, it's just that transporting your velomobile any distance is much more expensive than just getting a plane ticket for somebody to come.
Well, we've done that before. We've flown our people to go work on other velomobiles, but what happens is we've done it 4 times. 3 of the 4 times it went great. The 4th time that we did it, it was a disaster, because the customer didn't know what was really wrong with the bike, and we thought we knew from conversations, but when we got out there, of course, it wasn't. And then you have to wait for parts, and you have to get everything else while somebody's soaking up time in a hotel room. Flights are changing. It got very, very, very expensive, and then you got into an argument with your customer on who's going to carry the cost on it, and it didn't work out very well.
Let's finish up with Nina. As every velonaut out there, you are representing the possible purchaser. Are you ready to give Frosty up? Did you see something today that you think is going to work for you?
I mean, it depends on how much they cost, right? And Frosty is so old that a relatively fresh used velomobile would be very new, would feel like a new velomobile to me. So I don't know. I have a bunch of other expenses at the moment, but yeah, I'd like a fast velomobile. But what I really want is to test ride. Like, I'm tempted to just get a flight to Texas and try all the velomobiles in Doug's shop.
Maybe you can go direct from Ireland back through Texas.
I can actually go direct from Champaign, Illinois, believe it or not. That's Dallas is one of the places we fly to. But I'll have to check with him. It's a commitment. It's like, all right,
sure,
big deal. And then I'd want to sell Frosty, and I don't know. It's going to be warm soon, and I'll be able to ride my Tie Rush. Put it off. Just putting it off as long as possible. Right. Oh, will all of these new velomobiles be at Spezi?
I think I know Velomobile World will be. So that right there tells you that almost all of them will be. So I believe Josef. Can you bring Josef up for me, Trey? I think he probably knows. I believe so. I know Stephane will be. I talked to him. Yeah.
I would expect both of them to be there.
Right. Except because
probably
Francois.
There's a Spezi drought. We haven't had Spezi for a few years, and now people are thirsty. They really want to come back to that Spezi, even though Spezi is not where it used to be anymore. It has moved further south to I think the Swiss border. Yeah.
Good. All right. So yes, I think the majority of them will be there, Nina. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to leave it there with some final things coming up here. I want to, first of all, thank my sponsors, and we're going to thank everybody else here in a minute. So, Trey, if you're ready to go, let's start out by thanking TerraCycle. From fairings to headrests, whatever accessory you need, Pat and crew have you covered. And Trailside Trikes. If you find yourself in Florida near the Withlacoochee Trail or in Knoxville, Tennessee, check out Andrew's shop and amazing crew. And TerraTrike and Greenspeed Trikes. Your vision, whatever it is, TerraTrike has a trike to take you there. and Greenspeed cutting-edge designs create performance through Aussie ingenuity. And Laidback Cycles, the top USA dealer for TerraTrike and the premier source for CatTrike, Ice, and Greenspeed. We give you the freedom to ride. And Avenue Trikes, with the gearing you need and the comfort you want, it's time to enjoy riding again. They're in stock, ready to ship at only $19.95. Dealer inquiries are welcome. And AZUB. In addition to the titanium suspension, another technological gem brought to you by AZUB is the optional folding mechanism. It is not only easy to operate, but works great and looks fantastic. And Recumbent PDX, CatTrike's West Coast Megastore. Schedule your test ride on trikes with pedal assist, electric from both Bosch and Bafang, roll-off and schlumpf, component groups, and adaptive builds. Experience the joy of CatTrike. And EcoCycles. Adding e-assist to your bent can be a daunting task. With total focus on customer service, the experts at EcoCycles make this upgrade simple and worry-free. Check out EcoCycles today. All right, guys, announcements. So, as Joseph led on, Szwecji is coming up. It's moved to a new location. And the announcement is Trey and I are going to be heading to Europe in April to attend the Szwecji and cover it for the Laid Back Bike Report. We're very excited. We've made our airline tickets. We've got them lined up. And we're also going to be doing some traveling after the Szwecji. We're heading to the Czech Republic. We're going to visit Stephane at Katanga and Hansa at AZUB. And then probably heading south through the north of Italy, stopping to see my buddy Giovanni Iupani at his Heretic recumbent shop. And so we are going to have a ton of video for you coming up probably in May after we get back from Europe. So we're real excited about that. If you're in Europe and you're going to be at Szwecji or anywhere along the way, contact us, and we'd love to see you when we're there. So, all right, next Laid Back Bike Report is going to be March 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm working on it already, and I'll let you know as we get a little closer what's going to be on that show. I can tell you it won't be quite as long as this show was. Now, how can you support the Laid Back Bike Report? Well, you can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and you might want to just click that little white eye up there, and that will take you to the Laid Back Bike Report website. You can learn lots more there. The last thing is, if you're there, you can click on the Patreon button. That'll take you to patreon.com. You can become a Patreon, support the Laid Back Bike Report for as little as $1 a month. So we appreciate that. All these guys right here did that. So thanks to all our Patreons. All right, Trey, bring everybody on up here. Trey, what a fantastic job, dude. You took over.
Yay,
Larry,
Trey.
you can be with us. Just seamless.
Trey.
And you're still conscious, which is even better.
Well, I took a nap.
Did you take a nap? Okay. I'm afraid maybe some of our viewers did as well.
Is this the longest show ever? The longest.
Without question. Thank you all for
got my
staying
caffeine
with us.
shoes right here.
Yeah, you needed it. I was getting people on the chat asking how much coffee I drank, and so all legit. Guys, I also wanted to take one more time to thank all the wonderful manufacturers who represented their company so well and were generous in their time to tell us all about their Velomobiles in this. I worked hard with them all month. Great folks in this industry. I thank you all very much. I thank my panelists all for spending the time with us and giving us their thoughts on all these important subjects with Velomobiles. And I want to thank all of you folks out there for watching every month and sticking with us through the long shows. I hope you all get a lot out of it. We appreciate you and your support. So until our next webcast, from all of us here at the Laid Back Bike Report, so long, Bent Riders.